We will be going 6 games, moving 1 pair to the right after each game. 6 games, 1 pair to the right after each game. Top 5 to the step ladder finals.
Hey, and welcome back, everybody. Back at Lehigh Lanes in Lehigh Acres, Florida. That's the second time today I've done that. I did that this morning, too. I'm going to be mad at myself when I get home later. It's Justin McDonald back on the call. We've got the Lehigh Lanes monthly scratch sweeper. We're bowling today on the 42-foot Mark Roth pattern. That is literally the only information that I can give you about it. I don't see a graph in front of me. I can't tell you the ratio. I can't tell you how much oil it is. I'll maybe find it here in a little bit once I get settled in. We've got some players in the house for you guys today. We've got a full field of 36. If any of you guys were just tuned in about a half an hour ago, we had the senior regional tour in here for the PBA 50. Lehigh Lanes Open, presented by DBA, that Charles Warren, Chris Warren, more affectionately referred to as Squeaky, won. Took it down, shot a 300 game in the semifinal match against Amleto Monticelli, who really bowled well all weekend and held the lead in match play right up until like the last 2 games of match play. But a lot of those guys have stuck around and are bowling now in this one. I see Walter Ray Williams Jr. is on lanes 1 and 2. I see Dan Nolton on lanes 1 and 2. One of our local senior part-time tour players, John Huff, manager at one of the centers down in Naples, Florida, is on lanes 1 and 2. Michael Hogan's on lane 1 and 2. I believe Peter Knopp is about to get up on the approach on lane 2. Ricky Schisler is about to take the approach on lane 3. I believe this is Bruce Hall, a couple of guys back on lane 4. Michael Smith just came off the approach on lane 4, both the senior PBA event. Let's see. Got some local guys on 5 and 6. Brian Waddell finished 5th place in the Southwest Florida Proprietors Invitational Tournament in this bowling alley here last weekend. That's Joseph Ledibar is one guy back on lane 5, fixing to take the approach. Lane 7 and 8, we've got Nick Larson, the winner of the Southwest Florida Proprietors Invitational Tournament last weekend, as well as Tom Hankey, singles and team event collegiate national champion from a couple of years ago, is about to get on the approach on lane 8. The gentleman in the red shirt that just came off the approach on lane 8 is one of his teammates at Webb International. I believe his name is AJ. I believe his last name is Wolfenstein. I'll get a correction on that here in a little bit. Lanes 9 and 10, we've got Verity Crawley and her, I believe, boyfriend, Christianis. I will not attempt to butcher his last name because I cannot even begin to be able to say that. Lanes 11 and 12, got John Marsala down there. Got Wayne Tolan down there, who was the first guy out of the PBA 50 regional here. As a local bowler, Robert Hilton. Chris, good bowling this weekend, man. See if I can pull up some information about this Mark Roth pattern. I don't know that I'll be able to or not because I'm not a PBA member. Got an interesting little tidbit about Ricky Schisler. Him and I were having a conversation before, basically in between when the 4-game shootout round from this morning and the match play started for the PBA 50 regional about how he almost quit bowling like 9-10 months ago. We'll get into that here in a little bit. I see a plethora of different balls and attempted and practiced here in practice. Nick Larson's a lefty. I believe that was a very fuzzy phase too that he just whacked it with. Chris Jonas just threw a UC3 down there. Looked pretty good. Walter Ray just threw the pink Widow urethane down there and it looked smashed him. I believe that's a kinetic black ice from Peter Knopp. I think I just saw a lefty throw a black hammer down there. I just saw Michael Hogan throw what looked to be an Obsession Tour, the gold one. A gentleman by the name of Charles Bostic that's bowling with Tom Hankey that I believe also goes to Weber that's about to throw a Zen ball down there. Ricky Schisler just threw a UC3 that sawed through the pocket, but still left a solid 9-pin. That's been the theme of the day. Senior player Richard Cheney on lane 3, I believe, just threw an Axiom solid. Dan Nolton standing in line to throw a practice shot on lane 2. He's a very good PBA 50 player. I don't know that he's actually won any events, but he's always making step ladders. He bowled the regional here, somehow didn't make it to today. He's one of the last people I expected to not make it today. Walter Ray just threw a defender down there. Ricky Schisler just threw a altered reality. The gentleman that just threw a ball in lane 4 just threw a purple hammer. I missed the ball that Dan Nolton threw. Michael Hogan also just threw a defender down there. I had thought earlier that he had signed with Big because he wore Big shirts all weekend. He was throwing mostly big balls, but he walked by me earlier in a Brunswick sweater. He's throwing a Brunswick ball right now. He threw a hammer down there a minute ago. Ryan Waddell, one of our local players, fingered no thumb, one hand. Just walk down behind 11 and 12 and see what some of these guys are throwing down. Just threw a ball down lane 12, I believe, is a senior player too. I don't know his name. I recognize him. He's he definitely is. He made a show recently. He made a PBA 50 national top show. Cannot remember his name, but I'll get it to you in a minute. Big fella, lefty.
Let's see.
Ryan, what are you throwing to start? IQ tour for Ryan Waddell to start.
You guys just need to hit the start key on your monitors down low. You guys should be on for scoring. Good luck. Everybody bowl well.
We're going to get it going here.
Remember, one pair to the right after each game.
One pair to the right after each game. 6 games. So everybody's going to bowl a game on every pair. What are you throwing to start? Oh, okay. Robert Hilton going to throw the altered reality to start. Michael Haggett. Michael Haggett is the big gentleman on lane 12, the left. Peter Knopp's throwing that black ice to start. Richard Cheney looks like he's throwing a Nova to start. Walter Ray looks like he's throwing the Defender to start. Yep. Look good, too. Michael Hogan getting up on the right lane is also going to start with the Defender. Dan Nolton about to get up on the lane 1. That looks like a Strata hybrid to me. Yeah, it sure is. Good looking ball, a little bit high. Kicks out the 4-9 late. Ricky Schiff starting with the UC3 on lane 3. That was a very good shot. He left a 7-pin. All right, so the Ricky Schisler thing. So he walks up and he stands at the table next to me after we're sitting there chilling in between the shootout round, the 4-game shootout round this morning and the match play for the PBA 50 regional. And I said, Ricky, he didn't make it to the match play portion. And I said, Ricky, what was kind of the difference between yesterday and today? And he kind of gave me a little bit of an answer. And I kind of said, you know, I had a hook spot out to the right around 8, where today that was a hang spot. And then we kind of got into. I asked him. I said, "How long you been doing the two-handed thing? Because I feel like you bowled these 2 events down here last year, and you weren't throwing the ball two-handed." And he said, "No, I wasn't. It's been about 8 or 9 months." And he just looked at me and kind of saluted me right now. I gave him a head nod. I don't think he knows that I'm talking to him because I'm not that close to him. He said, I've been doing it for about 8 or 9 months. And he goes, you know, I'm still learning some things, and I'm still really kind of building some accuracy. Made the cut from Friday into yesterday. So we'll see how he can do here. But he says, I'm still learning some things. And I kind of feel, he says, you know, after like the Masters and stuff last year, about a year ago, I was at the point where I was done. I was about ready to quit the game. But in the back of my mind, I thought, you know, I can do the two-handed thing. So he tried it, and he liked it. Kind of worked out for him. He's liking it now. I mean, he made the cut from yesterday to today for the PBA 50 regional. He's here bowling in this deal. This is the same pattern that there's a PBA 50 national stop at Lightning Strikes. The practice session is on Monday morning, and he's bowling that. And this is the pattern that they're bowling on for that. So it's kind of probably the reason why he's here bowling that. Not to mention he probably just wants to bowl some more. But so that's a story on Ricky Schisler going two-handed. And Bruce Hall looks like he just threw a track Paragon down there and down the left side. Maybe not, because he's wearing some roto grip stuff. It looked like a track Paragon, but it might not be. Had a gem in his hand. I can't tell what that ball is from here. Dan Nolton just left like a power ring 10 pin on lane 2. Man, I like that UC3. Joseph Ledivar just threw a big ball down there on lane 6. Smashed a rack. Nick Larson up to a slightly bumpy start. Strike in the first frame, but then he opened and then a spare in the third. Jonas on lane 9. He looks to be throwing an IQ tour to start also. Lefty hater on lane 8. I think that's a black hammer. Haggett, the big lefty, left himself a 6 pin. John Marsala about to take the approach on lane 12 here in a minute. John Marsalis throwing a Helios. John Marsalis throwing a Helios to start and bang that one down. One of our local guys, Wayne Thompson, getting up on the approach on 11. He's throwing, I don't know what that is. It might be that hammer infamous. Throwing a game breaker full pearl. Really would like to be able to tell what the hell that is Tom Hankey's throwing, but I have no idea. Almost looks like a honey badger intensity, but if it is, he put a drastically different layout on his than I put on mine. Mine don't roll like that. This gentleman here on lane 10, Jacob Berry, he's throwing a Rubicon, the original Rubicon. Robert Hilton getting strike train with that altered reality on lane 11. Starting out with 2 straight spares. John Huff has a 3-bagger on 1 and 2, getting up on the approach on lane 2 for the 4th frame. And he's able to convert that into a 4-bagger. Gentleman about to take the approach on lane 3. Rick Galpel started with the front 3. That is another one of the PBA 50 regional players that bowled this weekend. He did not make it to today. Still have not been able to catch what ball Nick Larson has started with. Seen him throw 2 spares, both with the purple hammer, but that's about it. Ricky Schisler is able to put a double together after that gnarly little 7 pin in the first frame. He's up on the approach on lane 4. That ball looks a little wide. Yeah. He paid for it on that one. He missed the head pin right. Michael Hogan just threw a strike in the 4th frame with that defender. Dan Nolton on the approach on lane 2 right now. Appears to still have that Strata hybrid in his hand. Yep, good looking ball. Kicks out the 4-pin. John Huff, well, he was about to take the approach on lane 1, but got the 3-pin down. Ricky Schisler's able to convert his spare. Ryan Waddell getting up on the approach on lane 6, got the front 3. Still got that IQ Tour in his hand. Verity Crawley up on the approach on 10. Started out spare and then has a double, just converted it into a 3-bagger. Jacob Berry getting back up on the left lane. It's a good looking ball. He throws the ball good. Kid throws the ball good. Trying to see what that was that Verity just threw. I don't even have a clue what that was. Tony Johnson getting up on the approach on 11. Looks like he's got a Halo Pearl in his hand. Ryan Waddell was able to turn that into a 4-bagger. John Huff, however, left himself a 3-6-9-10 that he just converted in the 5th frame. Garrett Wolf getting up on lane number 9 right now, has the front 3. I believe that he is one of the 2-handed lefties. Boswell getting out of the GB4 Pearl and picking up a Bigfoot right now. He left himself a 2-4-8-10. That looks like a purple hammer. Yep, purple hammer for Garrett Wolf, and he turns that into the front 4. Almost picked it up the hard way. AJ Waltz. I got to figure out what that is. Anyway, he started with the front 4 before he left a 9 count, picked it up, and just got back on the strike train. Nick Larson, every time I look at Nick Larson, he's still there with the purple hammer. I don't think he's actually started with the purple hammer. He's 2-handed lefty on lane 7 and just threw another black hammer down there, just throwing it really well. Chris Jonas got himself on the strike train with a double in the 4th and the 5th. Verity's getting up there. Started with a spare and now has a 3-bagger going into the 5th. John Marsala picked up a spare with Helios. He's plugging along. The way some of these people are scoring so far, though, you're going to need to do more than plug along. You really want to know what the ball is that Verity's throwing. I mean, it almost looks like a trend, but it doesn't roll like a trend. Not to me. It's an Idle Pearl. Sorry, boss. Idle Pearl. Gary Allstott, one of the players from the PBA 50 Regional in lane 12, is having a little bit of a rocky start. I just missed Nick shooting another first ball. He left a 10-pin. I'm going to watch him throw a spare with a freaking purple hammer again. Let's see if I can get the ball. Oh, it's a purple hammer. That's what he's throwing to start. I didn't expect that. The front 5 to start. Walter Ray getting up on the approach on lane 2 here in just a second. Has a double in the 4th and the 5th frame. Scott Cobb bowling well to start. Starts with a double and then a spare and throws another double and has another spare in the 6th frame. I can't believe Walter hooked the ball that much right there. Wow. Especially on a 42-foot pattern. Yeah. They killed it and then restarted it for this. I already have. You had a 4-bagger to start. Exactly. I down here and gave you the juju. Michael Smith has got a 5-bagger to start on lanes 3 and 4. Tom Hankey, I still haven't figured out what he's throwing to start, but he started with an 8-split conversion and now has a 5-bagger going into the 7th frame. A.J. Wolstenholm. A.J. Wolstenholm is how you pronounce that gentleman's last name. One of Tom Hankey and Nick Larson's Weber teammates. Almost left a 4-9 on that one for Tom Hankey. Something shot out and pushed the 4-pin forward. Just the 9's still standing there. Wayne Topoland working along. Started with a spare, then threw a double. He's got 3 straight spares after that. And it appears that Robert Hilton has gotten away from the altered reality already. That looks like a kinetic black ice in his hand. Chris Jonas has got a 3-bagger now. That was a big ball. That thing was loud. Gentleman, Tony Johnson on lane 11 throwing that Halo Pearl and's got a 3-bagger, 4-bagger. Sorry, turned a 3-bagger into a 4-bagger. Oh, no, that was still the altered reality for Robert Hilton, but not the result you're looking for with a 4-6-10 there. Verity's got herself a 5-bagger now with that Idle Pearl. Vasquez is still searching though. Still searching though. Picked up a Bigfoot. Jason Couch is back here giving Verity Crawley shit for using a ball that's discontinued, calling her a cheater. She's like, well, got to do what I got to do. See how Vasquez does with this Bigfoot. That's a good looking ball. It might be your deal there, Oz. Michael Hackett up on the approach on lane 12. That looks like that Hammer Infamous solid. I don't know if they make a Pearl version of solid because it looks like a solid. And he's got himself a 4-bagger, 279 pace. Shot, man. Is that an Infamous? Yeah. John Marsala getting up on the approach, throwing that Helios. Working on a strike. There it is. That's a good looking ball. Jacob Berry getting on the approach on 10 has the front 6. Verity Crawley's up there on 9. It's still got that Idle Pearl in her hand, working on a 5-bagger, 290 pace. So she leaves a 3-6-10. Tom Hankey left a 10-pin, converted it. Hayden Knight is the lefty two-hander on the same pair as Tom Hankey, who's throwing the, looks like the Black Hammer, has now put himself a six-bagger together after starting in spare. Jacob Berry just left a 3-6-10, so that pair looks to be getting a little fiery. I think Verity threw hers in a little bit. I didn't see Jacobs, but I think he threw it okay. Michael Haggett up approach on lane 11. Going to make that a 5-bagger, still on that 279 pace. Still throwing the Purple Hammer. Flat 7. That ain't the ball, bro. It ain't the ball, bro. Dan Nolton up on the approach on lane 1. Started out strike spare, now has a 4-bagger. John Huff got back on the strike train in the 7th frame. Dan Nolton just made that a 5-bagger. He's on 280 pace. John Huff on the approach on lane 2. Got back on the strike train in the 7th frame. Cannot tell what ball that is that he just threw down there. It was a little bit outside of target, and it barely tickled the head pin, and he left a 2-4-10. Michael Smith on lane 3 just ended his bid for a 300 at the front 6 with a, imagine that, a 9-pin. Richard Cheney just left one of the gnarliest 10-pins I think I've seen. He threw Messenger at it that bounced off the wall and came back onto the pit and still didn't take it down. Ryan Waller, that ball looked good. Threw a Messenger across the deck that went in front of both pins and didn't touch either one of them. Tom Hankey back on the strike train on 7 and 8 for the 9th frame. AJ Wolstenholme getting up on the approach on lane 8 is on a 279 pace in the 9th frame. Flat 10 for AJ. Vinny did just about everything he could to pick up that 710 because he threw it about 24.25 miles an hour at the 7-pin. Silas Lira on 3 and 4, a right-hander throwing the purple hander. He's got a 5-bagger going. Walter Ray still in the defender on lane 2. Ryan Waddell approaching on lane 6. That's a little in. And a 3-6-10s ending his bid at a 300 at the front 7. And there are no more 300 bids in the building for the first game. Peter Knopp just went a little hot kinetic black ice, and he's not too happy about it. He knows exactly what mistake he made. Bruce Hall just knocked out a 6-pin late. It looked like an altered reality going down the lane. Strata hybrid still for Dan Nolton. Kicks out a 4-pin late. Turns that into the 6-bagger that he really wanted. All right, Scott Cobb had just opened in the 9th frame, or sorry, excuse me, the 9th frame. Michael Hogan had opened in the 7th frame and got back on the strike train in the 8th frame. John Huff could not convert that split in the 8th frame on lane 2. He's fixing to get up on the approach on lane 1. He can strike out for 233. Lane 7 and 8 is getting into the 10th frame. Charles Bostic went 9 spare in the beginning of the 10th frame. He can throw a strike for 211. Nick Larson is really struggling in this first game. He's got an 8 count up there to shoot at, and if he picks it up, he'll have an opportunity to throw a strike for a 170. You got a ball change in this fill ball, Nick. Throw something different than that purple hammer right now, please. Throw that damn phase 2 down there. Charles Bostic, man, this kid throws the ball good. Strikes for 211. AJ Wolstenholme opened in the 9th, so he can punch right now. Throw 3 in the 10th for 246. That's tough. Matt, I don't know what his last name is because it's just in there as M. Matthew M. had a 3 bagger going into the 9th frame and just threw it in the gutter. And he really threw that purple hammer down there in the fill ball and left it flat at 7 again for a 169. Nick Larson. Verity Crawley is Verity Crawley is really bowling well. She's on a 267 pace going into the 10th frame. Garrett Wolf getting up on lane 10 right now, carrying a 279 pace into the 9th frame. Michael Haggett is also on the 279 pace down on 11 and 12, specifically lane 11. Got the first one in the 10th already. Garrett Wolf trips the 10th pin late in the 9th frame. Stay on that 279 pace. Michael Haggett's second shot on lane 11 is going to carry, and he's still on that 279 pace. Dan Nolton up on the approach on lane 1 with the 9th frame. Ooh, ball goes real high. There's a 3.6710. He was on a 280 pace. AJ Wolstenholme went 8 spare in the beginning of the 10th frame. If he strikes here, it's 236. This young lady getting up on the approach on lane 9, Jacqueline Witura, she can strike out for 216, which is a pretty good start. Good shot for AJ there on lane 7. That's going to finish him with a 236 for the first game. The highest completed game so far. Jacqueline got the first one in the 10th frame. Michael Haggett just got his last one, and that's a 279. That's going to be your high game for the first. He's going to be leading after this game by just a couple pins. Chris Jonas got a 9 count in the first shot in the 10th. Looks like a 2-pin. Converts it. He can strike for 236. Tom Hankey, I didn't even realize he was up there. Threw a double in the 10th and then left a 6 count and shot 254. So that's going to be your second place guy, I believe. Although this kid on 3 and 4, Silas, I haven't done the math yet, but he can throw a big one out there. He's on a 7-bagger right now. 52, 82, 112. Damn it. 52, 82, 112, 142, 172, 2022. He can shoot 262 if he punches out. Vinny tried to ball change to a Nova, and it just didn't do anything off the back. He's too far left with it, I think. Got to understand your balls, folks. Got to understand where they play them at. Dan Nolton opened in the 9th frame, so he can punch out for 242 now. John Huff got the strike in the 9th frame and got the first 2 in the 10th, so he's on that 233 pace. He converts this one right here, it's 233. Scott Cobb got the one in the 9th and the first 2 in the 10th. If he converts this last one, it's 223.
They love your work.
Good, good. Oh, and he kicks a 2-pin over late. It's a 233 for John Huff for the first game. The gentleman on lane 7, Hayden, I can't remember his last name, went 9 spare strike in the 10th for 248. Quentin Alexander's got the first 2 in the 10th. He's going to pick up a different ball in the fill ball, and he can shoot 221. Scott Cobb converted in the 10th and shot 223. Yes. Yeah, everything will move. Michael Smith on 3 and 4 can also shoot 279. I did not realize he was on that good of a pace still. Ryan Waddell can shoot 277 if he punches out in the 10th on 5 and 6. Walter Ray got the first one in the 10th. That puts him on a 3-bagger. If he punches out, that's 225. Ricky Schisler getting up on the approach on lane 4 is working on a double going into the 10th. Shoot 234 if he gets all 3. Walter Ray got the second one in the 10th. Dan Ledebar, who I believe is Joseph Ledebar's father, shot 146 the first game. Vinny Spangola had a 186 when spare strike in the 10th. Bruce Hall shot a 205 on 3 and 4. Rick Galpel shot 207 on 3 and 4. Richard Cheney is up on the left lane right now on lane 3. If he picks up this 10-pin and strikes, it's 179. Joseph Ledebar is on a 3-bagger in the 10th frame now. 2 shots left. He can shoot 195. Matthew M. ended up converting that gutter ball to a spare, and he's got the first 2 in the 10th. It's going to be 209 if he can convert this one. Ricky Schisler got the first one in the 10th. He's throwing a altered reality now and threw a messenger over at the 10-pin, and it went in front of it. So if he picks that up, it's 223. Walter Ray got the third one in the 10th for 225. Peter Knopp ended up shooting 187 over on 1 and 2. Michael Hogan is carrying a double into the 10th frame. He can punch for 225. Dan Nolton, that says a 6 count, but I only see 3 pins standing there. Oh, nope. 1, 2, 4, 8 pin for the first shot in the 10th for Dan Nolton. So if he picks this up and throws a strike, it's going to be 232 for the first game after he had a chance for 280. Still throwing that Strata hybrid. It does convert. Joseph Ledebar ended up going strike 8, missed for 181. Ryan Waddell is getting up for his first shot in the 10th right now. He can punch out for 277. Silas Lira got the first one. That's the kid that can shoot 262 if he punches out here and take over second place. Well, not necessarily. I didn't realize. Well, you know what I'm getting at. Michael Hogan still throwing that defender out there. Got the first one in the 10th. Michael Smith on 3 and 4. Kept one high and tight there, and it carried. I'd like to know what ball that is, but I don't have a clue. And Dan Nolton did end up getting the strike in the fill ball for the 232 on 1 and 2. What is that? Oh, it looks like a damn good Verge, the original one. At least 270. Ryan Waddell is going to be in second. Michael Haggett shot that 279 game in the first game. That's going to be your leader after one game. And then Michael Smith's going to be in third with that 265. Michael Haggett, 279. Ryan Waddell shot 276. Jacob Berry shot 266. Michael Smith 265. Garrett Wolf 257. Tom Hankey Jr. 254. Silas Lira 250 even. Hayden Knight 248. Tony Johnson 237. I believe that was your top 10. I was not reading the seedings. I was just reading names. He'll give me a printout or something here in a minute. So everybody moved a pair to the right. No skipping pairs. We're just moving a pair to the right. Lanes 1 and 2's got Michael Haggett, and Tony Johnson, and John Marsala waiting to Poland. Drawing a blank right now because I can see the guy and I can't think of his name. Robert Hilton standing right in front of me. There's another gentleman on the pair that I cannot remember his name. I believe it's Gary. I cannot remember his last name. 3 and 4 is where Scott Cobb and John Huff are at. Peter Knopp, Walter Ray, Dan Nolton, Michael Haggett. Not Michael Haggett, Michael Hogan. 5 and 6, Rick Galpel, Bruce Hall, Ricky Schisler, Richard Cheney, Michael Smith, and Silas Lira. 7 and 8, Benny Spangola, Dan Ledebar, Joseph Ledebar, Brian Waddell, Matthew M., Carlos Delgado, I believe is his last name. 9 and 10, Nick Larson, Charles Bostic, AJ Wolstenholme, Tom Hankey, Quentin. I can't remember Quentin's last name. I don't have a roster sheet for this tournament. And Hayden, the two-handed kid that shot the big game in the first game on this pair. 11 and 12, Jacqueline, Chris Jonas, Barrett Crawley, Jacob Berry, Garrett Wolf, and Tom Bosquez. It's like most guys are really, unless they're struggling, they're still in mostly the same balls. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the guys that were on 11 and 12 that are now on 1 and 2 start changing the balls because of how different lane 1 is from lane 2. That pair just hooks more in general, but lane 1 hooks way more than lane 2. Michael Haggett getting up on lane 2, struck in the first frame. That's your tournament leader after 1 game. Shot that 279 game first game. Makes it a double. Brian Waddell staying on the strike train, striking in the first frame on 7 and 8. Richard Cheney has gotten himself into a Nova and throws a strike in the first frame. AJ Wolstenholme throws a slightly sloppy strike with some stuff, slapping some other stuff out in the second frame to start with a double. Dan Nolton with a slightly sloppy start on 3 and 4, 5 count in the first frame, takes 3 off of it. Ooh, Chris Jonas just missed a single pin in the second frame. Silas Lira just missed a head pin right, and it ends up being the only thing standing for a spare. John Marsala started on 1 and 2 with a strike in the first frame. He's up on the approach on lane 2. Big shot by John Marsala. Just beat that one down. Local guy Wayne Topolin started with a strike in the first frame, looking to make it a double. Scott Cobb started with a spare and is now going to stop a strike in the second frame. Michael Hogan up on the approach on lane B. Wayne did make that a double on lane 1. That ball was out for Michael Hogan. I believe that was a Pandemonium solid. So that's a ball change for him. Peter Knopp looks like he just ball changed. I don't know what to. Gary Alstott was the gentleman that is bowling on lane 1 that I did not know his name. That is a senior regional player. Richard Cheney just left a 2-4-8-10 with that Nova on lane 6. Local guy Vinny Spangola has started the second game with a double on 7 and 8. The entire left lane on 9 and 10 has started out with strikes. First guy's got himself a 3-bagger. AJ Wolstenholme's up there right now to try to make it a 3-bagger for himself. Tom Hankey started with a double. He's up on the approach on 10 right this second. I think that's a Halo solid, but I don't know. Ooh, that was a weird hit, and he leaves a 4-pin. AJ on the approach on 9, trying to make it a 3-bagger to start. That is some kind of a different ball, but I don't know what it is. And he did make it a 3-bagger. Hayden Knight is the 2-handed lefty that was throwing the black hammer to start on 7 and 8. Now he's on 9 and 10. I think he's throwing the same ball. Yeah, he is. Hankey converts the spare. Oh, that was a fairly shiny fade 2 for AJ Wolf at home. Tom Hankey, what is that? What ball is that? Okay. The Dream Big. That's 900 global ball, right? Yeah. That was a very good shot by that young lady on lane 11, Jacqueline. Started up with an open, but she's got a double going now. Quentin Alexander missed a single pin in the second frame. He's trying to get back on the strike train. And threw that one out. That's going to be a 5 count. That's not exactly what you're looking for after missing a single pin. Brian Waddell trying to give himself a double to start the second game. Ooh, that ball hooked a little bit, and that's going to be a 2-4-6. Hayden Knight just missed a single pin, 7-pin on lane 9. That's not ideal. Verity Crawley just left a 2-4-8-10 on lane 12 after starting with a double. Jacob Berry just got himself a lucky hit. Walter Ray started with a double on lanes 3 and 4. Dan Nolton back on the strike train after opening up in the first frame. John Marsala just opened up on lane 1 just after starting with a double. Wayne Topolan trying to convert the 1-2 on lane 2 and does so. Robert Hilton started out the first game on lanes 1 and 2 with a double, trying to make it a 3-bagger here in a minute. John Huff has started the second game on 3 and 4 with a strike and a spare. Scott Cobb has done the opposite, started with a spare and a strike, getting up on the approach on lane 3. John looks like he's gotten himself to a hammer infamous and missed the headpin right. Scott is throwing a dark colored ball. If I had to take a guess, it's probably a Black Widow 2.0, doing what Scott Cobb does to every pattern, basically. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but they do it like every weekend, period. She says it's creepy. That's funny. Ricky Schisler on 5 and 6 started out with a double before he just left a 10 pin. He's trying to convert it. Oh, Ryan Waddell opened up in the second frame and then left a makeable spare in the third frame and chopped it. Not ideal. He needs to get himself back on the strike train and erase that. Walter Ray started with a double and is now staring at a 2-4-8-10 on lane 4. Is that what you threw just a minute ago? Yeah. That was a Black Widow 2.0 for Scott Cobb. No, it's a good ball. It really is. It goes down there and smashes 2-pin forward, but not quite. John Marsala getting up on the approach on lane 2 right now after opening in the third frame. That was a big shot for John. Silas Lira just left himself a 5-pin. Let's see. We've got 2 300 bids in the building right now. One on 1 and 2 and one on 9 and 10. Nick Larson's still trying to throw a purple hammer down there, and it ain't working out for him. I'm going to give the guys at the desk about another minute or two, and then I'm going to go up there and ask them if they have a printout of our standings after one, or if I can look at them so I can give you guys a rundown, at least like maybe the top 10 or something. I believe that we're just doing 6 games total pinfall and then a top 5 step fire. I don't think there's any kind of, I'm pretty sure that there's no match play or anything like that. John Huff just left a 4-6-7 on lane 3. Started with a strike and 2 spares. That's going to be a tough one to convert. Charles just got slightly lucky because that easily could have been a 4-9 for the same price. Guys on 11 and 12 that started on 9 and 10, those 2 pairs aren't really the same as each other, and they're seeing it. Michael Haggett, your number 1 seed after the first game, 279 the first game, started out with a double and then went spare. Scott Cobb started out the third game with a spare and a double and then just left another spare, converted it. Bruce Hall had just left himself a 2-5, I believe it was, and picked the 5 off of it. That's unfortunate. Wayne Topolan trying to make his 3rd spare in a row. Peter Knob is just not having a good time right now. He's got that every once in a while ball reaction. Every once in a while, the ball gets in there in the pocket and strikes, but all the rest of the times it gets in there, it doesn't strike. Ricky Schisler's gotten himself to a Wolverine and almost had a rolling messenger take over the 10, but didn't. Robert Hilton on 1 and 2, front 3 and a 9 spare, getting up on lane 2 for the 5th frame. Charles Bostic was the other one that had the 100 bid, but he wasn't able to convert his either. He only had the front 4 and a 9 spare. There's no more 300 bids for the second game right now. Man, that ball went down there and crushed him, and he still left a 7 pin. Jonas is struggling to get the ball to go to the pocket the right way. It seems like he's hitting the pocket on every shot. He's got 2 strikes, 5 frames. Verity Crawley is still in the idle pearl. It's a pin down ball. The pin's directly below the bridge. And Nick Larson has gone ahead and put the purple hammer down and has picked up the phase 2. Attaboy. Smart play. That's a good ball. Damn, she can throw the ball good. Nick's starting to strike here. That was a big shot by Joseph Ledebar, who's on a 280 pace, kind of. I mean, he went strike, spare, 3-bagger. Boswell is back into a GB strike after an open frame. A.J. Wolstenholme started with the front 3 and then had a spare, got on the strike train at the 5th frame. It is up on lane 10 for the 6th frame right now. Looks to be throwing a phase 2. On lane 8 for the 5th frame right now. That was a good shot. Wonder if that was a ball change, because that ball looked a little bit too clean and angular for an IQ tour. 1 and 2, Michael Haggett opened in the 5th frame. He's up on the lane 2 for the 6th frame right now. Got back on the strike train. Scott Cobb still bowling well. Back on the strike train in the 5th after the 9 spare in the 4th. Dan Nolton seems to be having some problems with this right lane, but he's thrown 2 strikes on the left lane. He went open strike, open strike. Looks to be a different ball, and he strikes with that one on the right lane that he hadn't struck on yet. I'll have to try and see if I can get up there and see if what ball that is. He may be going with the 2 different balls on each strategy, because I still see that strata, whatever that is up there. I can't tell what that other ball is. It's too dark. I couldn't see the label. Actually, might be a knockout black and blue. Yep, that's exactly what that is, a knockout black and blue. Michael Hogan just got himself a double on 3 and 4. Wayne Tobolin just got himself a strike on lane 1, but it crossed over and went Brooklyn. That ball was left off his hand the whole way. He's looking down at his thumb like, what the hell happened there? Scott Cobb's throwing a Bigfoot, like the exact same way that he was throwing that Black Widow 2.0, and goes down there and it blows up the rack. John Huff up on the approach on lane 3. That looks 3D offset, and he's got a strike. That actually is a double after an open 4th frame. Silas Lira has gotten away from the purple hammer. That looked like a defender, but he was very deep, and that ball came off the back of the pattern very flat. Peter Knopp just crossed over and went Brooklyn on lane 4. Tom Pankey is still beating down the pocket on 9 and 10 for a 3-bagger. Vasquez converts a 10-pin on 11. Garrett Wolf fixing to take the approach on lane 12. Started out spare strike, as a double, trying to make it a 3-bagger. And Garrett converts, kicks over to 6-pin late. A.J. Wolstenholme makes it another 3-bagger. Started with a 3-bagger, had a 9 spare. Got another 3-bagger now. Jacqueline Witura up on the approach on 11. Shot was slightly wide. She leaves a 2-pin. Christianis Cerveja. I don't know if I got that right or not. I'm probably not going to attempt that again tonight. He's up on the approach on 12. Makes his strike a double in the 7th frame. Verity's up there carrying a 3-bagger in the 7th frame. She went double open 3-bagger. 3 and 4 might be kind of getting that pair down. Scott Cobb's up on lane 3 right now, trying to turn his double into a 3-bagger. Peter Knopp had that strike, but that was a Brooklyn. Scott Cobb just left a ring 10. Who the hell is that? Michael Hogan has got himself a 3-bagger going in the 7th frame. John Huff is about to take the approach on 4 with a double, trying to make it a 3-bagger. Walter Ray's got a double going in the 7th frame. Dan Nolton's got a 3-bagger going in the 7th frame. So they might be starting to figure things out on that pair. See which one of them can finish the strongest. Robert Hilton on 1 and 2 is on a 279 pace. Started out with a 3-bagger and then have a spare and threw a double. John Marsala, after a fairly start, has gone open, spare in the last 3 frames down on that pair. I would venture to say that he's going to be getting out of that Helios. Oh, he already did. He already did because that was a UC2 that just came out of the ball return. Oh, no. Scott Cobb missed that single pin, and he's not happy about it. Wayne Topolin just threw it a little bit right and left himself a 2-8. Ricky Schisler looks like he's throwing a reality now on lane 5, and that strikes, makes it a double. Peter Knopp trying to get himself a double on lanes 3 and 4. That ball hooked up and went through the face. He's throwing too strong of a ball. He's throwing a big Zenith solid. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Except for some of them kids. I know. I saw that. Actually, is there a sheet out somewhere? There is. I'm going to steal this for just a minute and I'll bring it back. All right. Now that we're about halfway through the first game, I'm going to give you a rundown of how everybody did in the first game. I think I've said it already a couple of times. Michael Haggett shot that 279 in the first game on 11 and 12. Brian Waddell checks in at second with a 276 the first game. Jacob Berry with a 266 is in third. Michael Smith in fourth with a 265. Garrett Wolf is going to come in fifth at 257. Tom Hankey shot a 254 the first game. That was good enough for sixth. Silas Lira shot 250 even the first game. That was good enough for seventh. Hayden Knight shot a 248. That's going to be eighth. Ninth place, Tony Johnson shot a 237. 10th place, AJ Wolstenholm shot the 236. 11th place, Christianis shot that 235 game. 12th place, John Huff shot 233. Tied with Verity Crawley, who also shot 233. Dan Nolton shot 232 in 14th. 15th place, John Marsala shot 228. 16th place, Walter Ray shot 225. Ricky Schisler is going to check in at 17th at 223. Scott Cobb is going to come in also in 17th place at a tie at 223. Quentin Alexander shot 221 in the first game. That is going to be 19th place. And 20th place is Charles Bostic with a 211. See if there's anybody else notable on this list. Wayne Topolin, local guy, shot the 194 the first game. Nick Larson, not that great the first game, shot 169. See if he can dig himself out of a hole. Since he switched to that phase two, he's gone through that strike when he first did it. And then he had a 7 spare in the next frame, and then he threw another strike in the 8th frame. I don't see. Oh, Robert Hilton tied for 20th place at 211. Michael Hogan Jr. is in 22nd with a 209. All right. Lanes 1 and 2. Robert Hilton still got the 279 bid going. He's got a couple right now. Still throwing a defender. Still hooking it quite a bit. Threw a messenger over at the 10. Didn't take it down. Richard Cheney's up on the approach on 5 right now. Trying to convert a 2-8. He's having a little bit of struggles. Needs to find something a little bit consistent. Scott Cobb up on the approach on lane 4 had left himself a 6 pin and just converted it. He had opened up in the 7th frame. He punches out. He's looking at, looks like 226, I believe. Let's see, lane 7 and 8. Not a ton going on 78. Carlos Delgado's got a decent game going. He can strike out for a high 240, low 250 something. Charles Bostic chopped a spare on 9 and 10 in the 9th frame, which means that he can strike out for 225. AJ Wolstenholme's getting up on the approach on 9 here in a second. He 9 spared in the 8th frame, so if he strikes, he is looking at 258 if he strikes out. Nick Larson turned that 1 strike into a double on lane 10. If he strikes out, he can shoot 218. Tom Hankey's on a 4-bagger and just let one go and kicked over a 6-pin late. All might have even crossed over. I was a little bit screened out from the head pin. Turned it into a 5-bagger. Quentin Alexander had a pretty good game in the first game. He was really, really struggling on this game. He did not throw a strike until the 8th frame, which was the frame that he just completed. He's getting up in the 9th right now. He had 1, 2, 3 opens in a row, and then a 4th one another frame later after making a spare before he finally put a strike in the 8th frame. He's fixing to take the approach on lane 10. Lanes 11 and 12. Chris Jonas just left his 2nd straight 9 count. He converted the first one. If he converts this one and strikes out at 205, Verity Crawley is taking a 5-bagger into the 9th frame. If she strikes out, she's at, I think, 264. She went double open and now has a 5-bagger. Get up there and strike out for, I believe, 213, and she really needs to do so. Jacob Berry had a really, really good, solid game the first game, and he's really struggling in this game. Started the game, strike, open, strike, had a spare, and then another open before 3 straight 9 spares. And then Garrett Wolf down at the bottom, having a solid game this game. Started out spare, strike, spare, and now had a 5-bagger. So I believe if he strikes out, that's going to be a 270 game. Michael Hogan on 3 and 4 had a 4-bagger going into the 8th frame and just left a baby split. Scott Cobb got back on the strike train on lane 3. Ryan Waddell gotten away from whatever dark color ball he had been throwing. It might have been the IQ Tour. It might have been a dark code. He's throwing a Nova, and he just left a 4-pin. He's really struggling in this game on 7 and 8. After opening up with that 276 game. Sorry. John Marsalis' struggles on 1 and 2 are continuing. He's staring at a left-handed version of the 248. I don't know what the hell it is. 369, I think it is. And if he picks it up and converts it and throws 3 in the 10th, it's going to be a 178 game. John Huff has got a 4-bagger. He's up in the approach on 4 for the 5th frame. He's still throwing that offset. He just rang a 10-pin. Nick Larson had left a 7 count in the first shot in the 10th on 9 and 10, converted it. He needs to strike for a 195. Looks like he's going to the bag. No, he's not. I want to talk to somebody about it. Peter Knopp just converted whatever 9 count that was, and if he strikes out, he's going to shoot 194. Wayne Topola had opened in the 8th frame on lane 1. He's up on lane 2 right now, and just went through the note a little bit and left a 4-pin. John Huff converted that 10-pin on lane 4. He can strike out in the 10th for 220. Michael Hogan opened in the 8th, can strike out, throw the back 4 for 224. Walter Ray's getting up in the 9th frame on lane 4. He can strike out for, I believe, 231. Michael Smith, who had that 265 in the first game, opened up this game, strike, spare, strike, open, and has now got a 4-bagger. Tom Hankey Jr. is fixing to take the approach on lane 9, carrying a 5-bagger into the 10th frame. A.J. Wolstenholme is up on the approach on lane 10, has a strike in the 9th, can punch out for 258. Michael Haggett, our tournament leader after the first game, he shot 279, is carrying a double into the 10th frame. He can strike out for 64, 94, 224. Tom Hankey putting his hand in the ball and taking the approach on lane 9. Still throwing that. I believe he said it was called a Big Dream. It's an older 900 global ball. Yep. Got that ball out there a little bit, and it came back and tickled the head pin, leaves him at 210. That's going to be a tough one to convert. You really like to convert whatever you leave there in the shot in the 10, so you have a fill ball. Vinny Spangola had taken a 3-bagger into the 10th frame on 7 and 8, but that ball just hooked up and went through the face and left him at 3-6-10. A.J. Wolstenholme gets his second one in the 10, still throwing that shiny face too. Oh, lane 12, Jacqueline had a 3-bagger going in the second shot in the 10th, threw a really good shot and left him ugly, gnarly 7-pin. She can pick that up for 202, but she really needed it to shoot that 212 game. Chris Jonas can strike out. He's got the first one in the 10th. He can get the last two for 205. He got the second one in the 10th, so he's guaranteed 195. AJ threw a 9. Michael 10th frame, so he can only strike for 202 here. So you could be looking at a new tournament leader here after this game. Could be doing it. Could be looking at it that way in a different way, honestly. Because Michael Smith, who shot to 265 the first game, is carrying a 5-bagger into the 10th frame. So that ended up being a leader because I think AJ only shot like 230 something the first game. I said that only sarcastically. Scott Cobb 2-8'd in the beginning of the 10th frame, converted it if he struck to 206 game. Unhuffed left himself at 3-6-10 to convert here for a 210 game. Hack strike 202 down on 1 and 2. Tony Johnson up on lane 1 right now. He's going to wait on John Marsala to pick this spare up, but he can strike for, I believe, a 189 for game 2. Oh, yeah? Vinny ended up picking up that 7 spare and striking for 209 the second game. Tom Hankey did end up striking in this fill ball for 230. Oh, he picked up that 210. I didn't even realize that. I was looking in the opposite direction. Picked up that 210 and struck in the fill ball for 233. I'm curious. It doesn't look like just by the ball sitting on the rack that he threw a different ball in the fill, so it must be fine with his looking just to thrown it fast. Quentin Alexander, his struggles are really, really continuing on this game. Chris Jonas did get the last one for the 205 the second game on 11 and 12. Verity Crawley got up there and got the first one in the 10th frame and just left a flat 10 pin. So if she picks that up, it's going to be a 233 for the second game. Garrett Wolf is still carrying that 270 pace into the 10th frame, a 6-bagger going into the 10th frame. So that could end up being your new tournament leader. And I think that he shot 250 something the first game. Ryan Waddell still continuing to struggle in the second game. Just 9 counted in the first ball in the 10th. It's a 3-pin. And the best he can do is pick that up and throw another strike for, I believe, a 175. Joseph Letabar shot 191 right on top of him. Matthew M., whatever his last name is because it's not in the computer, had a really rough start to this game, but ended up pulling it together and shooting 206. Carlos Delgado getting up on the approach on 8 here in a second, can strike out for 224 for game 2. Bruce Hall just picked up a 2-pin on lane 5 and can strike for 178 in game 2. Walter Ray just threw the last 3 for 207 after opening in the 9th frame. Scott Cobb ended up striking in the fill ball and shooting 206 in the second game. John Huff did convert the 3-6-10 for a 210 the second game. Michael Hogan has opened up 2 frames in a row after having a 4-bagger and can now only shoot 202, and that's a ball change to a different ball. It's a big bowling ball, but I don't like the company Big Bowling. I don't know which one. It's the white and blue one. Dan Nolton on the approach on lane 3 still seems to be throwing that Strata hybrid on that lane. He's having a rough game. Thought he might have had something on the right lane, but seems to have gone away again. Got the first one in the 10th. He can strike out the last 2 for 195. Wayne Topolin on lane 1 got an 8 spare in the beginning of the 10th frame. Can strike for a 181. Robert Hilton still carrying that 279 pace into the 10th frame on lane 1. Gary Allstott shot 206 the second game. And Nolton got the second one in the 10th on lane 3. Michael Hogan got the second one in the 10th on lane 4. Still got that same ball in his hand. Ricky Schisler looks like he's still throwing that reality on lane 5, pretty far left. This is our one senior 2-handed player in the field. Robert Hilton gets the first one in the 10th to stay on the 279 pace. Ricky Schisler got that one probably just a little bit outside of target. He got back to the pocket with some authority, but couldn't take the 10-pin out. Something hit it and wiggled it, but it didn't fall. Silas Lira, I just believe, is still throwing the defender. He's got a 3-bagger going in the second shot in the 10th. He can strike out for 220. Dan Nolton does get all 3 for a 195 game in game 2. Got some guys on 9 and 10. They're already starting the 3rd game. That is not a defender that Silas Lira is throwing. That is a reality. My apologies. The 2 balls look very, very similar. Nick Larson just slapped one out on 11-12. And then get a whoop. Oof. Almost. Charles Box got to lane 12, 2-8. I don't know that he knows why it happened. Ricky Schisler just left a 2-8-10. A fill ball on lane 5 for a 199 game. Richard Cheney shot 190. Silas Lira picked up his, I believe that was a 4-pin for a 209 game. Michael Smith carrying a 5-bagger into the in the 10th frame on lane 5. Robert Hilton ended up converting his 279. So that's going to put him towards the top of the leaderboard. Might not put him in first, but it's going to put him in like 2nd or 3rd at least. Michael Smith left a 7-pin first shot in the 10th frame on lane 5. So if he picks this up and strikes, it's going to be 227. Not enough to put him in the lead, I don't believe. I wish I would have seen if the gentleman that had the 279 game going on 11 and 12 converted or not. Michael Haggett's first shot in the third game just made its way down the lane, and he got a little bit of a lucky hit. Ball went a little bit high, and he crumbled the 4-6 late. Michael Smith's fill ball is away, and it's a strike, and that's going to be a 227 for him for game 2. All right, so everybody's either reset or resetting for game 3. Lanes 1 and 2's got Chris Jonas, Verity Crawley, Tom Vasquez, Jacqueline, Jacob Berry, and Garrett Wolf. 3 and 4's got Tony, Michael Haggett, John Marsala, Wayne DePaul, Robert Hilton, and Gary Allstott on it. 5 and 6 is going to be the pair where Dan Nolton, Walter Wade, John Huff, Scott Cobb, Peter Knopp, and I can't remember who was their 5th or their 6th. I'm sorry. Who was their 6th? I can't remember. We'll get back to that in a minute. 7 and 8 is going to be where Michael Smith and Bruce Hall, Ricky Schisler, Silas Lira, and Richard Cheney go. 9 and 10 is already gone in this game. Already almost through 2 frames. Got Dan and Joseph Ledebar and Ryan Waddell, Carlos Delgado, Matt M, and Vinny Spangola, guy from Naples in there. 11 and 12 is going to be the pair where you're going to find Nick Larson, Tom Hankey Jr., Quentin Alexander, Charles Bostic, AJ Wolstenholme, and Hayden Knight. I would say probably like another 10 or maybe 15 minutes I should have the updated shot in the third game. AJ Wolstenholme started the second game with a spare and a strike. Nick Larson started the second game with a strike and spare attempt coming up right now. 12. And convert 9 and 10. It started the third game, the first 2. Vinny Spangola just picked up the 3-6-9-10 on lane 10. Ooh. One of those solid 9 pins. I'm glad I don't bowl right now. John Huff had left a 10 pin in the second frame of the third game and just converted it. Michael Haggett started this game with the first 2, but just left the 2-4-7. There's 2 women in Verity Crawley, and the other one is bowling on the same pair as her, and it's this Jacqueline with and she throws it quite well too. She opened up in the first frame of the third game, and she just threw a strike on lane 1. Vasquez gets back on the strike train on lane 2. Ooh, Michael Haggett just took the 2 pin off of the 4-7. Matthew M from 9-10 has got the front 4 for third game. Carlos Delgado on the approach right behind him has got the front 3. Ryan Waddell seems to have gotten things settled back down. He's got the front 3 of the third game on 9 and 10. Quentin Alexander might be getting things back under control on a really bad game 2. I can't tell what ball that is. A lucky hit to kick over the. There's 3 guys on that pair with the front 4. That's 9 and 10. AJ converted that 2-8 on 12. Let's see how Hayden Knights, the two-handed lefty, was on the black hammer earlier, how he's started this game. Spare strike. Still seems to be in the same basic area of the lane with the same ball. And he just whacked on that one. Michael Smith, 2 solid. I believe that this is your tournament leader, but I haven't seen an updated scoreboard yet. Threw a strike in the first frame. That ball was left of target and was lucky to really only leave a 10-pin. Garrett Wolf getting up on 2, started the third game with the front 3. Sorry, the front 2, trying to make it the front 3. Verity Crawley is left what looked like the 3-9. How she did that. Robert Hilton left the 3-6-10 and took the 10 off it, left a 3 there. Scott Cobb making his approach on lane 6. Looks to be back in that Black Widow 2.0. Needs a 4-pin. Ball came in a little light. Walter Ray on that defender, but I think he threw that one left to target, and it hooked the block. There's the ball right there. Gary Allstott went and got a UFO alert out. I don't care if you think it's illegal. The PBA doesn't think it's illegal. Verity Crawley just went and got something out of her bag. A Hustle camo. If you like the Hustle ink, you better get yourself one of those before they discontinue them or you can't get them no more or something. And everybody I talk to, that ball's as good or better than the ink. Walter Ray picks up that baby split on 5. She, I believe, is going to go ahead and throw it. I don't think that's a thought. I think that's a ball change, period. I know that this is what I need, and I'm going to throw it. Started this game open strike spare. Nope, she's still throwing that idle pearl. Ooh, what could have almost been a 7-9. Something kicks out the 7-pin. So maybe that Hustle camo is just for the left lane. It's kind of what you got to do on that pair. Jacqueline's got a 3 in a row after opening up with an open the first game of the third game. She desperately needs a big game here. Peter Knopp has started out with the front 3 on 5 and 6. Michael Hogan is up on the approach on 6 to try and start with the front 3. Hogan cannot make it the front 3. He leaves a 4-7. John Marsala seemed to have found something again after a pretty bad game in game 2 on 1 and 2. He's on 3 and 4 now. He started out with a double and a spare before he got back on the strike train. Really struggling this game. Started out the game with 4 straight spares before he just opened up in the 5th frame. He started this game with 2 straight spares, and then he's throwing a double. AJ Wilson home is gone. The ball was a little bit tight, but held. He's happy about it. He's fist pumped. Would be too. Lighter. John Huff just turned one strike into a double for the third and fourth frame. He started out spare, and went 2 strikes after that. Down on 1 and 2, Chris Jonas has got a spare and then a 3-bagger to start this. Really struggling here on 3 and 4 after opening up with a double. He's got 3 straight opens after that. Oh, no, he made that somehow. Something must have bounced out of the pit. I must have looked away early. Vinny Spagnola from Naples seemed to have found something down there on lane 9 in game 3. He started out strike, 2 straight spares. Now he's got a 4-bagger going into the 8th frame. Matthew M. down on lanes 9 and 10 has started this game with the front 6. Charles Bostic trying to get on the strike train and for the first time this game. Tom Hankey had a 3-bagger going into the 6th frame, but the 7 counts 3-6-10. Ricky Schisler's Nova just went early and high. 6-10. Matt M ended up getting the 7th one, so he's on 7. Garrett Wolf got the 5th one, down on 1 and 2. Peter Knopp has the front 4 on 5 and 6. Michael Smith, who I believe is your tournament leader after 2 games, has gone strike, spare. Still looking for updated scores so I can update everybody. Chris Jonas on 1 and 2 just struck. Going to put him on a 269 pace right this minute. Verity Crowley struck on lane 1. I wasn't down here to look to see if she switched to that camo on the left lane or not. But she's got that camo in her hand right now. She's got that camo in her hand right now, and she's good up on the right lane, which is the not-so-hooky lane. Michael Haggett trying to get back on the strike train. That's not going to happen. That's a 3-7 for Michael Haggett. That was a good-looking ball for me, but I don't think that's the right ball for that lane. I think that's the right ball for that lane on the other lane. I think she needs to stay with that idle pearl on that lane. Jacob Berry just put himself together a nice double. I believe that he's in a phase 2 right now. John Huff converts whatever 2-pin combination he had left over there on lane 5. Scott Cobb just threw a Nova down the lane on lane 6. I think Scott Cobb has changed balls like 3 times in 5 frames in this game. That's what you got to do if you can't get the ball to go through the pins the right way, though. Garrett Wolf has turned his front 5 into the front 6 on 1 and 2. John Marsala is up on the approach, fixing to get on the approach on lane 3 here in a minute. Started out with a double, a spare, and another double. Matt M down there on 9 and 10 has turned his front 7 into the front 8. AJ Wolstenholme has a 3-bagger going into the 7th frame right now. Tom Hankey Jr. actually opened in the 6th frame, threw a spare in the 7th frame. Quentin Alexander had a good game going, but he's run into some troubles here in the middle of the game. He missed a single pin spare in the 6th frame. Now he just left himself a 2-8-10. Yeah. After 2?
Right now.
Thank you. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'll give you one every game, buddy.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Oh, this was after 1 game. I read him this one.
Okay, so you're waiting
As soon as you get the 2nd game scores, I'll take that one. And I officially think that I'm about to order a pizza because somebody just brought one out, and god damn does that smell good. And it looks good too. This kitchen knows what they're doing in here. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, I got scores for after the 2nd game. You got a new leader after the 2nd game. It's Garrett Wolf with a 5.16, 258 average. He's 115 over after 2 games. 2nd place is AJ Wolstenholme with a 493 score, averaging 246.5 after 2 games. 3rd place is Michael Smith with a 492 score, averaging 246 after 2 games. 4th place is Robert Hilton with a 490. 5th place Tom Hankey, 487. 6th place Michael Haggett. Remember, that was the guy that shot the 279 the first game and was leading after 1 game. Shot 202 the 2nd game, fell all the way down to 6. That's the scoring pace that we're on in here right now, guys. Verity Crawley's coming in 7th place at 466. Hayden Knight in 8th place at 460. Silas Lira 459. Brian Waddell fell from 2nd to 10th. This is coming in at 12th at 440. Jacob Berry in 13th at 436. Walter Ray's 14th at 432. Scott Cobb is in 15th at 429. Dan Nolton 427th in 16th place. Tony Johnson's in 17th at 425. Tied with Charles Bostic, also 17th place, 425. Ricky Schistler's in 19th at 422. And Gary Allstott's going to come in 20th place, 414. Tie for 20th between him and Matthew M. Matthew M is the guy that's up on lane 10 right now, and he's got the front 8 going for the front 9. Brian Waddell has just turned a double into a 3-bagger going into the 10th frame. Started out with the front 4. It had 2 straight spares. And Matthew just crossed over Brooklyn and struck for the 9th one. Garrett Wolf down on 1 and 2 has the front 7 going on. Verity Crawley just struck to make it double on 1 and 2. Let's see, I don't have the guys on 9 and 10 are fixing to finish up the 9th frame. I'm going to stand behind Garrett Wolf and see what if I can. Oh, yeah, he's throwing that face too. That's right. Getting up on lane 1, and he's got the front. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is a lefty. He's got throwing the purple hammer. He's been throwing the purple hammer since game 1. Probably standing on about 16. Something just caught his eye, and he balked, took 2 steps and stopped. Michael Hogan on 5 and 6 just threw a 3-bagger going into the 7th frame. Good shot. Carries. Front 8. Front 8 for Garrett Wolf. Peter Knopp on 5 and 6. He's got the front 6. Tom Hankey struggling here in game 3 on 11 and 12. In the 9th frame, he just left a 2-4-8-10, and he had already opened in the 6th frame. That was a terrible break for Dan Ledebar. He threw a good shot, getting left 7-10. Could have easily been a strike for the same price. John Huff is struggling in this game, and he just missed a 10-pin. As Bangola is going to finish off the third game with a 221 after going spare strike in the 10th frame. Had it open in the 9th, or that could have been a way bigger game because he had a 5-bagger going into the 9th. Michael Smith, who I believe is into this game, is really struggling in this game. Started out strike, 3 straight spares, and then a open spare. Got Matthew M getting up on the approach on with the front 9. I believe that this kid has been throwing a purple hammer the entire day. He is right now for sure. That's a good looking ball, and it's a flat 7-pin. So if he picks that up and strikes, it's 279. Neil, this is getting towards the end of the third game. Game of 6 games, and then I believe we just cut to the top 5 for a step ladder. Jacob Berry just made a 4-bagger, a 5-bagger by going to Brooklyn. Garrett Wolf is getting up on the approach, and he's got the front 8 on lane 2. John Marsala on 3 and 4 is on a 279 pace. He started with the first 2 before he went 9 spare, and now has a 4-bagger. And Gary Allstott started with a strike and an open, and then has a 5-bagger since then. Michael Hogan on 5 and 6 is carrying a 3-bagger into the 7th frame. He's on a 278 pace if he strikes out. Shots away for Garrett Wolf, still throwing that purple hammer. Trips the 10-pin over late, makes it the front 9. Okay, cool. I appreciate it. Order whatever. I'm just gonna get. You want anything to drink? I'm good. I've got a cooler full in my truck. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, sweetheart. John turned that 4-bagger into a 5-bagger on lane 3. Gary Allstott's trying to turn his 5-bagger into a 6-bagger on the same lane. Dan Nolton's struggling on 5 and 6. I just noticed that. He started this game out with an open and then a spare and a strike and another open before he had 2 straight spares. Just got back on the strike train on lane 11, or I'm sorry, on lane in the 7th frame on lane 5. Chris Jonas has got a 4-bagger going in the 10th frame. He's up on the approach on lane 2 right now. He can shoot 269 here. That was a big shot. Kicked the 4-pin over. That ball was a little bit heavy on the head pin. Michael Hogan ended up missing the head pin to the right and leaving the 1, 2, 4 and converted it. We're getting towards the end of some games here. Lanes 9 and 10. Dan Ledebar shot 201. Joseph Ledebar shot 180. Matthew M ended up shooting 277. That was the kid that had the front 9. 7 in the first shot in the 10th frame. Carlos Delgado has got the 10th. If he gets the last one, it's going to be good. Ryan Waddell can strike out here for 267. Ooh, that's nice. Throwing the Nova went up for the 10th. 11 and 12. A really bad game. He threw 1 strike the entire game. He shot 137. That's what these patterns folks. Tom Hankey just shot 190. Nick Larson shot 194. AJ Wilson can throw the last in the 10th for a 270. And he a 2-4-10, second shot in the 10th. It's not the most consequential thing on the face of the planet, but he would have had that one and maybe made that mistake all later. Convert the 4-3. See in his face that he's not super happy about that. Nobody really would be. A.J. Wolstenholme takes the 2 out, and that's going to give him a 256. He's going to hold on to the lead. Quentin Alexander. Got a chance to shoot 214 with those last 3 here. 8. And he did not get the first one in the 10th. He left a 4-pin. Knight has a double going into the 10th. The two-handed lefty that's throwing the black hammer. It just crossed over the first one. He can shoot 238. One and two, they're starting to finish up. Jacqueline, the one other female bowler that nobody would know because Verity Crawley's in the building. She shot a 223 the second game. That's big. She needed that. Chris Jonas ended up shooting 268. He had a 9 count in the fill ball. Verity's up there right now trying to convert a 4-pin. If she does so and strikes, it's 194. Jacob Berry's carrying a 5-bagger into the 10th frame on lane 1. 98, 128, 58, 88, 218. He can shoot 248 if he gets all 3 in the 10th. Garrett Wolf right underneath him has got the front 9. And Tom Boswell can strike out for 202. Jacob got the first one in the 10th on lane 1. Robert Hilton is on a 265 pace. Opened up with a double and then opened and now has the next 6 going into the 10th frame. So he is shooting himself up the leaderboard right now. Tony Johnson got the first one in the 10th and get the next 2 for 198. Another local guy, Wayne Topolin. He's got 2 going into the 10th frame. And he can punch out for, I believe, 216. And then I was decided the screen from Robert Hilton, Gary Alsop can shoot. I believe that's a 268. John Huff looks like he's gone to a Quantum Evo Pearl after 3 opens in a row. Strikes in the 9th frame. He can strike out for 190, but he's going to have a lot of work to do after that. We're getting into the back half of this tournament. Wow, Michael Haggett has not been having a good time on 3 and 4. I just realized that. Not a good game. Started out this game with a double and then 2 straight opens before making a spare and then having 2 straight opens again. He's since recovered and got back on the strike train, and he's on a 3-bagger right now. Seems to have definitely got, yeah, that's a kinetic black ice that he's throwing down. He got the first one in the 10th. Jacob Berry got the second one in the 10th, balls away, and he got the third one in the 10th too, so I think that's 248. 248. You're good. Michael Haggett got that. Garrett was going to get up on lane 1, but half the rack just fell down. So we're going to get that issue corrected for us. Michael Haggett taking the approach on lane 3 to try and turn this. So the back 5 for looks like 187. That ball did. I was almost going to make the remark that ball's not going to hook, and then it did. So yeah, he just threw the back 5 for 187. That's a hell of a recovery. Peter Knopp had the front 6 before he left the 7 count in the 7th frame. He's since thrown a double. He's on 277 pace. Garrett Wolf, the gentleman with the front 9, is getting up on the approach on lane number 1 right now. Throwing the purple hammer. He's a left-handed, one-handed kid. The ball was a little bit out, and he leaves a 2-pin. There will be no 300 games in the 3rd game either. If he picks this up and strikes, 279. I just saw the comment about my microphone cutting in and out. There's not a whole lot I can do about it, honestly. We don't really have a cut mic as far as I know for this. I will ask somebody here in a minute, but the guy that actually set all this whole deal up and everything is just throwing a ball on lane number 4. So I'm not really going to bug him too much about it. That's Wayne Topolin. He just shot 216 on lanes 3 and 4. John Marsala just picked up a spare on lane 3. If he throws a strike here in the fill ball, it's a 258 game. Some pretty big games going on that pair right now. Let's see. Tom Boswell did throw the last 2 to shoot 202. Garrett Wolf just went 5 count through the face for 274. Ball still early. Yeah, you know the rest from there. Robert Hilton's up on the approach on lane 4. Got the first one in the 10th. Trying to shoot 265 after shooting 279 on 1 and 2. John Marsala's shots away for the 258 attempt, and he can. That looked like an RSTX2 to me. Gary Allstott getting up on the approach on lane number 3. This game he's gone strike open 7-bagger for potential 268 game here. Robert Hilton still throwing that altered reality. Got the second one in the 10th. One more, and that's a 265. Michael Smith, who went into this game in 3rd place at 92 over, is very, very struggling very badly. Struck the first frame, 3 straight spares, open, another spare, another open, striking another spare, going in the 10th frame. He can only shoot 173 for this 4th game. Scott Cobb just finished up game number 4. Excuse me. We might be frozen.
My screen?
Might be. That's the 5 through 8 one. All right. Let's see. Well, I do believe that gentleman, Gary Allstott, did throw the last one for the 260. Walter Ray's up on the approach right now on lane 6. He got the first one in the 10th. He can get the next 2 for 218. Peter Knopp got the first 2 in the 10th and can get the last one for 277. That's a big game that he really needed. Ricky Schisler's struggling bad on lane 7. He can only strike out for 165 here. Looks like he's still throwing Wolverine. Silas Lira on the same pair, 7 and 8, is carrying a 4-bagger in the 10th frame. If he punches out, it's going to be 130, 250 even, which he did that the first game on 3 and 4. Peter Knott just went ahead and got the 3rd one. That's a 277 game. It's a big recovery. He really struggled the last game. Guys on 11 and 12 are already 3 frames into the 4th game. Guys on 1 and 2 are starting the 4th game right now. Charles Bostic opened up the 4th game, the open in the 1st frame on lane 1. AJ Wolstenholme looks like he's left 10 pin. Oh, and he whiffed it. That's not good. Not ideal. Don't let that get in your head. Tom Hankey started the game out with a strike. Hayden Knight, 2-handed lefty, is coming up on lane 1. Quentin Alexander is going to take the approach on lane 2 right after him. Jacqueline struck in the 1st frame. Jacob Berry just left a 2-8-10. Chris Jonas is up on lane number 4. for the first time right now. Believe that he's still throwing a dart code. Ball looked a little out, and he left an 8-10. Thanks. I think it started going right after I walked away from me.
I sat in there, made sure I put the audio on it.
Perfect. All right, Silas Lira up on the approach on 7 here to try and make another 250 even game. Garrett Wolf was your tournament leader going into the last game and shot that whatever it was, 274, I think it was. So he already had like a 23 pin lead, and I can only imagine that. Well, he just beat AJ, who was in second, by about 20 pins, so that lead's probably going to go to about 40 to 45. Larson opened up in the first frame on lane 2, and he's looking at, I believe, a 6-pin to convert, and he does so. Very Crawley on the approach for the first time on lane 4. Looks to still be throwing that hustle camo and doing so well. Silas Lira got the first 2 in the 10th, so one more, and that's a 250 even for him. Ricky Schisler shot 165. Rick Gapple shot 168. I mean, no good games really on that pair except for Silas. Michael Haggett taking the approach on lane 5 for the first time, going a little high with that kinetic black ice. Silas has ball changed into a red ball, but I don't have a clue what it was. It might be a blood red jab. You know, watch it come out of the power turn so we can see it. Might be a Supreme or something like that. No wonder why it plaque 10. Thing's 15 years old. Matthew N., who had the 9 last game, has started this game off with the front 3 and just took the 3-pin off of the 6 on a spare conversion attempt. Brian Waddell started this game with the front 3, staring at a 2-8 conversion on lane 11. He converted. Waiting to Bolin. Strikes on lane 6 for the first time. Game 4. Chris Jonas just converted at 4-pin on lane 3. Charles Bosick just crossed over, went Brooklyn on lane 1, left a 6-pin. That lane's going to get it's probably going to get everybody on that pair, honestly, except for Tom Hankey, because he's been in this bowling alley enough. Well, Nick Larson. Nick Larson's left-handed and been in this bowling alley enough. If you don't know about lane 1, you don't know about lane 1. Verity Crawley's got herself a double to start the game off on 3 and 4. Nick Larson's up on the approach on lane 2, trying to find his first strike of game 4. Throwing to phase 2. That's a good-looking ball, and there it is. And that's a big, wild fist pump, because that's the kind of day he's been having. Is throw 1 strike, and oh my God, it's awesome, because he ain't been able to get it to go through the pins the right way at all. AJ Wolstenholme has gotten out of that face into what looks like an altered reality and got himself his first strike of the 4th game on lane 1 in the 3rd frame. Tom Bosquez on lane 3 is trying to get himself a double to start the game. That ball looks a little out. Oh, well, that's why I'm holding the microphone. Thank you. Garrett Wolf is back on the strike train on lanes 3 and 4, starting with a double. That guy is just running them over. Like every tournament, there's somebody that averages 250 plus, and that's the guy right now. Jacqueline Matura started with a double on 3 and 4 in game 4, and she's trying to make it a 3-bagger right here. And she does. She throws the ball good. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we've got. Wait a minute. This is old. This is from the senior tour. That had Dave Covington's name on it.
Comedian.
Mike just tried to run up to me and hand me a score sheet for the updated after 3 games, and it was a score sheet from the PBA 50 qualifying. Thank you, sir. That's it. Yep, that's the one. All right, I got some updated scores, folks. We've got no change in the top spot after last game, which there wasn't ever going to be. I mean, this kid's running them over. Like I told you, he shot 790 for the first 3, 257, 259, 274. It's Garrett Wolf. And he's got the front 2 on lanes 3 and 4, and he's up on lane 3 whenever he's ready. Second place, this is a change. Robert Hilton. After a second game of 279 and a third game of 265, he shot 755 for the first 3 and finds himself in second place, just ahead of A.J. Wolstenholme, who shot 236, 57, 256 for 749 for the first 3. Fourth place is going to come in. It's going to be that Silas Lyra kid who's on 9 and 10 and just to start the game 4 on lane 9. He started out, went 250, 209, 249. So he ended up with a 9 count in the fill ball there. That's right. We watched that. Tied with him in fourth place is going to be Chris Jonas. He shot 235, 205, 268 for 708. Sixth place is going to be Matthew M., the kid that had the front 9 before a flat 7 pin. Shot 691 for 3 games to start, 208, 206, 277. Seventh place belongs to Hayden Knight with a 248, 212, and 225, 685 to start. Eighth place is right on his heels. 1 pin behind him is Jacob Berry with a 684, 266, 170, 248. Man, if he'd have shot 200 in that game. Ninth place belongs to Gary Allstott with a 208, a 206, and a 268 for a 682. 10th place is Ryan Waddell, 276, 171, 233 for a 680 for the front 3. Tom Hankey Jr. struggled in the third game. He comes in at 11th place. He shot 254, 233, and then a 190 for a 677 for the first 3. Michael Haggett was your tournament leader after 1 game because he shot 279, but then followed that game up with a 202 and a 187. He's in 12th place now. He shot 668 for the first 3. Michael Smith had 2 pretty big games to start. Shot 265 and 227 before shooting 173 the last game. He shot 665. He's in 13th place. 14th place, you're going to find Verity Crawley. She's shot 233, 233, and then a 194 on the very tricky 1 and 2 for a 660 the first 3. Sorry. John Marsala is going to come in 15th place. He shot 228, 167, 258 for 653 for the first 3 games. I was going to cut it off after 15 and just give you some highlights, but Walter Ray's in 16th with a 225, a 207, and a 208. It's going to give him 640. 18th place, you're going to find Michael Hogan, 209, 202, 220. 19th place is where you're going to find Jacqueline Matura. She's having a solid day, 205, 202, 223. And as I look up, she's got the front 3 of the 4th game on 3 and 4. Local guy, John Huff, in 20th place, 233, 210, 185 for a 628. Another local guy in 22nd place, Vinny Spagnola, 186, 209, 221 for a 616. Right behind him, another local guy with a 612, Scott Cobb, 223, 206, 183. Another local guy right behind him, Wayne Topolin, 194, 181, 216. He's 9 pins under. Dan Nolton is 17 pins under after a 156 in the third game. He really struggled in that game. Let's see. Where we got Nick Larson, last week's Southwest Florida Proprietors Invitational champion, is in 31st right now with 169, 193, 194. And that's going to be about all the highlights after the 15th place. We've just started the fourth game of 6. Lanes 11 and 12 are about halfway through the fourth game. Pretty much all the other pairs are 2 to 3 frames through. Lanes 1 and 2 is getting into the 6th frame. This is a scratch tournament. We're bowling on the, I believe it's the 42-foot Mark Roth oil pattern, the 2022 version. I do not have a load sheet in front of me. I can't have the ratio. I can't tell you how much oil is in it, but it's 42 feet long and it's called the Mark Roth. In my opinion, I've bowled a decent amount of games in this center because I'm from this area. This is a pretty high friction surface. At this point, there's a lot of guys that are pretty far left, except for Walter Ray, who's pretty far left for Walter Ray. Still throwing a defender and just left a 7-pin. I think it's probably going to be about time that he gets into something a little bit cleaner and more angular than that defender. I don't know if he's maybe got a Game Breaker 4 Pearl in his bag or something that he can go grab, but I think it's going to be about time for that. I'll put it to you this way. The kid leading the tournament is a lefty, and he's leading by 45 pins, and he's throwing a purple hammer, but the guy in second place is throwing an altered reality, and he's quite far left. Can't figure out. Oh, he's on the pair right in front of me. There's just somebody standing in front of me screening me out. But he started off strike, spare, strike. Michael Hogan has just crossed over for a Brooklyn strike on lane 7, and Steve Taylor is doing his best to give him as much crap as possible. Runs regional. He's got the front 3. It's on a Nova. That was a good shot from Bruce Hall there.
You been commentating this long?
I just started last week. But yeah.
You've been doing it all day.
I know. I ain't got anything else going on.
Right.
Somebody asked me earlier if I was going to stick around for this one, and I said, there's one. Walter Ray just shook a 7-pin. I'm starting to think that he might need to be getting into something pearlized. Scott Cobb left a 6-pin and converted it. Silas Lira's got the front 3 down there on 9 and 10. And he is the only perfect game bid left in the building for the 4th game right now. Hey, tell the boys at Flow I said, what's up? It'll work.
All my stuff's I want to bowl so bad.
Right?
I came down here with my Dodge Dart. I didn't have barely enough room for all my stuff with working
For
that.
the tournament? Yeah. Yeah, I can take it. Yeah, you drove all the way down here in a Dodge Dart from Virginia?
See, man.
Woo!
Don't feel it. I get it going. Keep going. Only time it stops when you put more gas in or go to the bathroom.
Right. Yeah, grab something to eat real quick and keep on going. A.J. Wolstenholme's got himself a bagger going on 1 and 2 after an open and a spare in the first 2 frames. Hayden Knight had a 4-bagger going on, but he just left a 7-pin on lane 1. Silas Lear is slanging wood right now on lanes 9 and 10. Get the front 4. Michael Haggett seems to have gotten himself back on track. He's got a 3-bagger going on after 2 spares to start this game. Verity Crawley throwing bombs with that hustle camo. Started out double, spare double in this game. Garrett Wolf started out with a double and then had a spare before he opened and then just got back on the strike train in the 5th frame. Scott Cobb left a 10-pin just now to make it 2 spares in a row after starting out with the front 3. John Marsala just went a little bit high and left a 6-pin on lane 5. Ryan Waddell on 11 and 12 started this game with the front 3 and then had 3 straight spares. Got back on the strike train in the 7th frame. See if he can make it a double here in the 8th on lane 11. And he does. That was a good shot. He buried that one. A.J. Wolstenholme getting up on the approach on lane 2. Carrying a 5-bagger into the 8th frame. Tom Hankey on lane 1 just threw a really good shot, and it almost was a pocket 710. Threw like an atomic messenger across the deck that went around the 7 but took the 10 down. Chris Jonas is still looking for his first strike of the 4th game on lane 3, and he doesn't get it. It's going to be the baby split. Jacqueline Witura back up on lane number 4, looking to make it 5 out of 6 strikes this game. And she did. I couldn't see it. I was a little screamed out. I couldn't hear any pin noise, so it might have been a little sloppy, but who cares? Robert Hilton has got himself on a 260 pace for this game. That's the gentleman that's sitting in, as a local guy, sitting in 2nd place, 45 pins behind Garrett Wolf. But he's starting off this game better than Garrett seemingly is a little bit. By a couple pins at least. He needs to figure something out on lane 5, though. He hasn't struck yet on lane 5. He hasn't missed yet on lane 6. He hasn't struck yet on lane 5. Silas Lira is taking the approach on lane 9 with the front 4. Still throwing that. I believe it's a Reign Supreme. He buried that one to make it the front 5. Lanes 11 and 12 are starting to finish up the 8th frame, or excuse me, the 9th frame and kind of get into the 10th frame here. Michael Haggett on 5 and 6 has just made his 3-bagger a 4-bagger. Verity Crawley just buried another one on lane 3. Charles Bostic has got himself a 3-bagger going into the 10th frame after a little bit of a rough start on 1 and 2. He can punch out for, I believe it's going to be 216. Mick Larson's got 4 straight 9 spares in a row. I don't know what he's throwing at this point. Looks like a Rubicon. And it was about 2 centimeters away from being the big 4 or the 4-7-10 for a strike. A.J. Wolstenholme getting up in the 9th frame, taking a 5-bagger into the 9th frame, trying to make it 6. Vasquez flat 10s. John Huff taking a double into the 6th frame. Strikes there. I believe that was a purple jab. AJ did strike in the 9th frame. He's got a 6-bagger going into the 10th frame now. It's going to be another huge game for him. He was in 3rd going into this game. He was in 3rd going into this game, and he was 41 pins behind. Robert Hilton was 35 pins behind, not 45, sorry. Garrett Wolf, your tournament leader after 3, has got a double going into the 7th frame that he just accomplished. Chris Jonas finally struck in the 7th frame on lane, I believe he was on lane 4 for the 4th game. Verity Crawley getting up to try and make her strike streak a 4-bagger. Keep her on a 279 pace. Dan Nolton started this game strike, open, double, spare up on the approach on 7, about to let it go. He's thrown. He's gotten himself into a 3D offset, and he just left a big 4. And that might be a problem for the rack. Nope. Verity threw an 8 count on lane 4. Jacqueline Ventura got up and got her 2nd 3-bagger of the game. Started out with a 3-bagger, went 7 spare, has another 3-bagger. She's bowling very well. She throws the ball really good. Dan Nolton, who just left that big 4 on lane 7, came back after just taking 2 off the spare with a sarcastic fist pump towards Michael Haggett. Michael says, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Kicking ass." And he paused for a second, and he's like, "Kicking my own ass." Scott Cobb still throwing that Nova down there. A little light, leaves a 2-4. Jacob Berry having a halfway decent game going. Started out with an open, then 3-bagger before he left a 9 count and picked it up, struck. And he's now attempting to convert a 9 count spare. Looks like that's a 10 pin. He's going to make way for Garrett Wolf, your tournament leader, who's got a double going to the 7th frame. John Huff is throwing a purple jab. He's getting up on lane 8, and he is about as far left as I can remember seeing John Huff in a long time. He's got a 3-bagger going into this frame. That ball reacted nicely and came back, and he's now got a 4-bagger. Silas Lira got the 6-1 down on lane 10. 11 and 12 starting to wrap up game 4. Vinny Spagnola shot a 184. Dan Ledebar shot a 168. Joseph Ledebar can pick this up and strike for a 161. Ryan Waddell had a double and spared in the 9th frame. Leave 230. Oh, I've seen you with the slow swerve or the jab over there. If Steve Callier was here, he would say he doesn't like your slow swerve. You're probably right about that one. AJ Wolstenholme had a 6-bagger going into the 10th frame and left, I believe, a 10 pin, but I'm screened out by Michael Haggett. Yeah, it is a 10 pin on lanes 1 and 2. So if he picks this up, he's 248 for game 4. Charles Bostic shot 193. Nick Larson shot 204 with 3 in the 10th after a 5 straight 9 spares. Tom Hankey opened in the 10th frame for a 204. I'm sure he's not a happy camper about that. Chance for the 248 here. Quentin Alexander has a double going into the 10th frame and can shoot I believe 246 if he gets all three. Hayden Knight has a double going into the 10th frame and can shoot, I believe, 247 if he gets all three. Robert Hilton just threw a shot down lane 6, left a 2-pin. He still hasn't been able to buy a strike on lane number 5, and now he's just not struck on his strike lane. So he's got to figure something out here. Maybe it's a ball change. I don't know. Michael Haggett really struggling here in game number 4 on 7 and 8. He's got a double in frames 3 and 4, but strike open before that, or I'm sorry, spare open before that, and then two straight spares before this could potentially will probably be a third spare in a row. It's a 4-pin. Scott Cobb just went through the face and left a 4-7-10. It's not exactly what he needed. Michael Smith, who had 2 really solid games to start, but then struggled last game, is struggling again this game on lanes 9 and 10. Silas Lira, however, from the same pair, who just shot a couple of 250s and a 2-0 something, has the front 7 on that pair. Ryan Waddell left an 8 count in the first shot in the 10th, and Matt M., who had the front 9 last game, just shot 224 on 11 and 12. Carlos Delgado just picked up a spare and can strike for 188 on lane 12. Bruce Hall has got himself a nice 3-bagger going on 9 and 10, going into the 9th frame. John Huff has just made his 4-bagger a 5-bagger with a slow slurve. Quentin Alexander on 1 and 2 got the first one in the 10th and threw a halfway decent shot down there for the second one. It's probably a little bit outside of target and got a little angular because he threw a messenger in front of the 10-pin. So he can pick that up for 235. Hayden Knight got the first 2 in the 10th and can strike again for 247. The 2 end pairs are going, they're hauling ass, really. I mean, they're done, but 3 and 4's got 2 frames left. 5 and 6 got 3 frames left. 7 and 8's got 2-3 frames left. Sorry, folks. I was being asked one time I was going to be home. I had to reply to that one. Verity Crawley. I'm still working on it a little bit. Verity Crawley just buried one and left a 10-pin in the 9th frame on 3 and 4. If she picks this up and punches out, it's going to be 235. Jacqueline Watura had a second 3-bagger before she went 8-spare, 9-spare. That was the 9-spare was in the 9th frame, so she's going to be carrying that into the 10th frame. She can potentially punch out for 244, and that's a huge game. Michael Haggett is doing well again. He can strike out here for 258 on 5 and 6. John Marsala started this game off pretty solid, but seems to have had some troubles with the pin carry in the last few frames. Jacob Berry is struggling a little bit here down the stretch of this game on 3 and 4. He is looking at a 2-pin conversion, and if he does so and strikes out, it's 201. Garrett Wolf is your tournament leader going into this game. He's got a 9-spare in the 8th frame after a 3-bagger, and if he punches out, he's looking at a 235. Robert Hilton was sitting 35 pins behind him, is on the next pair of lanes over, is clean for the game, but is not going to overtake Garrett in this game unless something drastic happens. 69.99. Robert can punch out for 229. Garrett can punch out for 235. AJ Wolstenholme had shot that 248 in game 4. He was your man in 3rd place. He was only 6 pins behind Robert, so he's definitely going to overtake Robert for 2nd place, but he's not going to be able to throw it. He didn't throw enough out there to overtake Garrett. Jacqueline is striking, and it's impressive to see. She's throwing the ball very well. She's got the first one in the 10th, and if she strikes out, it's 244. Garrett left I believe that was a 248 and picked it up. So his new max is going to be 222. John Huff had a 9-spare in the 9th frame and just threw a strike with the slow slurve, and what easily could have been a weird 4-pin hit. Something came ricocheting off the wall and took that 4-pin out. Scott Cobb has finished this game not that well down the stretch. Just 4.67 for a 198 in the 10th frame. And a little bit high on the head pin for the second one in the 10th. Gives him a 7-pin. And if he picks that up, it's going to be 238. That was a big shot by Jacob Berry. It was a little bit high on the head pin, but he got it to carry. He needs the next 2 to shoot 201. He was in 8th place going into this game. Chris Jonas had a 3-bagger going in the 10th frame, and the ball went to the face, and he left a 4 count. You got the 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 standing there. And he almost converted it the hard way, but just got the 4 off of the one side for a 181. 181 in game 4 for our 4 seed, Chris Jonas. Verity Crawley is about to take the approach on lane number 3. She's got a 9 spare in the 9th frame. If she punches out, it's going to be 235. She was all the way down in 14th. We'll have to see how far up the leaderboard that shoots her. The gentleman right in front of her, Michael Smith, was really struggling to start this game, but he pulled it together. He's got a 3-bagger going into the 10th frame. Silas Lira, I hadn't mentioned him in a few shots, but he's turned that, what I think it was the front 6 the last time I mentioned him, into the front 9. Richard Cheney is about to get up there for his fill ball in the 10th, and then Silas will be up on lane number 10. Peter Knopp has just finished out the 4th game on lane 7 and 8 with a 169. That's not exactly the way you want to have your 4th game when your 3rd game was a 277. Walter Ray is up there to convert a 4-pin in the 10th frame. He converts it, so if he strikes, it's going to be a 206 game. John Huff did convert that 7-pin in the 10th frame for a 238. Michael Hogan has a double going into the 10th frame, but even if he throws the back 5, it's only going to be it's going to be 220. Verity Crawley did get the first 2 in the 10th, so if she gets one more, that's a 235 for her. Garrett Wolf had that 7 spare conversion in the 9th frame, getting up right now for the first shot in the 10th frame. He carries that one. Walter Ray just went two-handed for that shot. The ball crossed over, but he just threw it two-handed. 205, 9 count. May very well be going two-handed here for a minute. So Garrett Wolf got the first one in the 10th and now can strike out for 222. Robert Hilton has a double going into the 10th and can strike out for 229. So he's going to gain a few pins on Garrett. But at the same time, I think he's actually also going to drop a spot in the standings because I think A.J. Wolstenholme did enough to overtake Robert for 2nd place. Dan Nolton is just struggling heavily now. Silas Lira did get the first one in the 10th frame. He's now got the front 10. I'm going to walk down there behind him and see how this goes. Still throwing that. I believe it's a Reign Supreme. Good shot. Buried it. It's got the front 11. Ricky Schisler threw the back 5 on this pair for 204 for that game. Michael Hogan can strike here on lane number 8 for 199, and he does so. Silas Lira. Silas Lira has a 10 o'clock deadline for a paper due in the morning, and he's over here on the front 11 in game 4. I'm not even kidding you. His laptop's wide open, and he's right. And that does it. There's a 300 game in game 4 for Silas Lira while doing his homework. I've never seen anybody shoot 300 and do their homework at the same time. Good job, man. Especially on a PBA pattern. Lanes 3 and 4, Garrett Wolf did throw the last 3 to shoot the 222 game. Verity Crawley did get the last one to shoot 235. Gary Allstott can strike here in the fill ball for a 221. Robert Hilton went 6 count spare in the beginning of the 10th frame and can strike for 205 here, so he's going to lose a couple pins on the first place number. Not that it really matters because we have a step ladder final here. Tom Vasquez is throwing his final shot on lane 3 in the 4th game. It's a strike for a 196. And that's the end of the 4th game. Guys on lanes 1 and 2 are already 3 frames into the 5th game. And Dan Ledebar. Dan Ledebar's in the front 3 on lanes 1 and 2. He's fixing to take the approach on lane 2. Vinny Spagnola's got a spare and a double, fixing to take the approach on lane 1. Ryan Waddell is starting to struggle again. He's opened up this game, spare, open. It looks like he's taking that dark code and going to put it back in. Oh, that's a phase 4, sorry. Hey, Verity. I think while everybody resets to start the 5th game, I'm going to go use the little boys' room and step outside for a minute and try and warm up because it's freaking freezing in this bowling alley. I'll be back in about 10, 15 minutes or so. We're starting the 5th game of 6 games.
Hi.
Probably not. I guess I'm not famous enough.
All right, folks. As I come back to my little perch here, I've got a new set of scores for after game 4. I've got a couple of little developments going on in the middle of game 5 here. Vinny Spagnola on 1 and 2 in game 5 has started the game out with a spare and a 5-bagger. Really, I guess that's about the only development, except for the fact that Michael Hogan has pulled out of the tournament. He's now in blind for game 5. I don't know if there was some sort of an injury there or if he's just like, you know what, I'm tired. And I'm bowling the big tour stop starting on Monday, which is the day after tomorrow. And he's packed it in and gone home. All right. New scores after game 4. Garrett Wolf still your leader. He's averaging 253 to the day. He's had games for the day. He's had games of 257, 259, 274, and 222. New second place man, Silas Lira, after a 300 the fourth game. Started the tournament with a 250, then shot 209, 249, and then the 250 that the 300 that we just mentioned. He's only 4 pins behind Garrett Wolf. He's averaging 252 on the day. Wolstenholme checks in at third place, 236, 257, 256, 247. Stop giving you guys updates. Paul Fleming, the gentleman that's finished in second place in the PBA 50 regional right before we started this tournament, is standing in front of me talking to Gary Faulkner, and I'm looking at his hand, and it is annihilated. And they're talking about it. I was trying to overhear what he was saying. I can't really. Like, everywhere on his hand is just tore up. That's what happens when you bowl a million games.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't. I got it. Even on his thumb,
Still listening to these guys talk about his thumb. Sorry, guys. All right, I'll pick up the scores back. AJ Wolstenholme is in third place. I believe we already talked about him. He shot 236, 257, 256, 247. Robert Hilton's checking in at fourth place. 11, 229, 265, 201. That fourth game. Hayden Knight's going to come in fifth place. 248, 212, 225, 246. And remember, we've got to cut to the top 5 after 6 games. This is the 5th game, so that is your cut line right now. 931. Plus 131 is your cut line after 4 games. Matthew in 6th place, 208, 206, 277, 224. He's at 915. Michael Haggett shot 236 that last game to get himself to 904 and 4 over. Gary Stott's in 8th place at 99 over, shot 217 in the 4th game. Ryan Waddell comes into this game in 9th, shot 216 in the 4th game. Verity Crowley cracks the 4th game. She's at 895. Her man, Chris Jonas, checks in right behind her. He looks like he's 6 pins behind her. He shot 181 last game. Tom Hankey Jr.'s in 13th. He shot 204 in the 4th game. John Huff has moved himself up into 15th place. He shot 238 the 4th game. John Marsala is in 17th place. He shot a 193 last game. Walter Ray's in 18th. He shot 205. Michael Hogan, he must have injured himself or something. I don't know. I wasn't around and I went to the bathroom, but he dropped out. He was in 19th before dropping out. Local guy Scott Cobb is in 21st place. Another local guy from Naples, Vinny Spagnola, is in 24th place. He had a spare to start this game and then had a 5-bagger before sparing again and getting back on the strike train in the 8th frame on 2. Ricky Schitzler's in 25th, Wayne Topolin in 26th, Larson in 29th, Dan in 30th. That's about all I really got for you guys. 1 and 2 is flying along. Those guys are fixing to get into the 8th frame. Meanwhile, the pair that they have to go to next is just finishing the 4th frame. Doesn't seem like that great of a strategy from the guys on 1 and 2 because now you're going to sit and wait for 20 minutes. 5 and 6, Verity Crawley is getting up on the approach. She started the game with 2 spares before throwing a strike. She looks to still be throwing that, I believe, hustle camo. So get up and take a closer look. It's not. It's a PBR. Not a Pabst Blue Ribbon. A Hustle PBR. Game pair, Jacob Berry had started with the front 3 before he just... Garrett Wolf, your tournament leader, this game off with the first 2. Jacqueline Ventura, I should tell you where she's at. She just shot a big game. She's in 14th. She shot that 244 last game. Starting this game a little bit rough. Opened in the first frame for a strike and a spare, and another open in the 4th frame. Tom Boswell, the first 3, and he's getting up on the approach on lane 6 to try and make it 4. Tom Hankey just struck on lane 3, and he's pointing at lane 4 because it's pissing him off. Vinny Spagnola is about to take the approach on lane number 2 for the 9th frame. He's got a 269 game pace going on. Matthew M., who I believe was up in 6th place going into this game, started out strike open 3-bagger before he had another spare, and now he's carrying a double into the 9th frame after Vinny gets done. Garrett Wolf is approaching on 5. The Purple Hammer still crosses over for a Brooklyn and a carries. Has left a 4-pin down in the 9th frame on lane 2. Nolton, who was in 2nd for a while, but dropped in the 4th after the last game. Strike open strike. He is still throwing that reality. Also, Ray just converted to a defender. Silas Lira, our man that just shot 300 in the game, is starting this game off a little bit rough. Went open, open, spare, spare. He looks to be throwing a Purple Hammer all of a sudden in the middle of the lane, and it just went through the face, and he let the 4.67. That's not the play. Not the play, sir. Dan Nolton started this game off with the front three before, but he's got a strike again in the fifth. I don't think there's any might about it. It's probably too little too late for him, but he's going to grind it out and get practice, basically. I believe that was a hustle camo that Ricky Schisler just threw down there. John Huck is up against the turns, playing the slow slur, the jab. Okay, they're starting to wrap up this fifth game on 1 and 2. Meanwhile, on 3 and 4, AJ Wolstenholme's getting up there in the 6th frame. That one went through the face and he left it 3-6-10. I think that was that phase 2 again that he had gotten off of in the last game. Michael's good bowling this weekend. Good bowling this weekend, man.
Maybe a guy. Is there an Alan or an Andrew? Who? There it is, Triple A. Triple A.
Hey, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Golf Channel.
Yeah.
Nice. Michael Hogan and Gary Faulkner heading. Let's see. Vinny Spagnola getting up on lane number 9 for the 10th frame. Had that big game going. That ball went left of the head pin. Well, went Brooklyn. It hit the head pin. Left the 7 count. First shot of the 10th. He can pick that up for 2. He did pick up that 7 count, so he can strike for 236. Jacqueline is struggling this game on 5 and 6. Charles Bostic. I think that's an X1, yeah. Charles Bostic about as far left as he can get with an X1 before he has to get in front of the ball return. Vinny ended up striking to finish the 10th or the 5th game, shoot 236. Matthew M., who was your bubble boy going into this game, is carrying a 3-bagger into the 10th frame. Can strike out for 240. And he kind of needs to. Jacob Berry started this game with the front 3, and he's since gone 8-split, non-conversion, and now has another 8-split. Tom Vasquez has started this game with the front 5. Garrett Wolf, your tournament leader, started this game with the front 4 and will be up on lane 6 in just a minute. I believe that was a 4-6 that he was trying to convert there. Michael Haggett, I believe was in 4th going into this game, is up on lane 7 right now. I believe that's that damn good verge again. And he struck. Oh no, he was in 7th going into this game. And that's a double for Michael Haggett. Robert Hilton started this game with a strike and an open, since has a 3-bagger. He was your 4th going into this game. Robert Hilton's on a 4-bagger. He's throwing the ball very well. He's still throwing that altered reality they started the tournament with. Walter Ray has gotten to himself to a point where he's so far left that he's just having a problem getting the ball to go through the rack the right way, even when he gets it to the pocket. Right now. Ryan Waddell had a rough start to this game, but it's on a 4-bagger going into the game, and I believe, what ball is that? Is that original parallax? Makes it a 5-bagger. No, that's a hyped. I don't know if it's the Pearl or the hybrid, but that's a hyped. The blue one, if anybody knows the difference. I don't really care, but for those wondering, that's another gnarly 9-pin. I've seen about 40 of those since this morning. So if he picks that up, it's going to be 2-2-2. It's not really going to help him much. Chris Jonas is struggling a little bit down there. He's only got 2 strikes through 6 frames. Clean game, but Verity's kind of got the same thing going on. She's still trying to throw that PBR down there. AJ Wolstenholme had 2 straight 7-count spares, and he just got back on the strike train in the 8th frame. Garrett Wolf had left a single-pin spare in the 5th frame and missed it. So that's a max of 267 now. Verity's throwing a... I thought that ball was pretty good, and it just started to go early and never really stopped. Hayden Knight had a 3-bagger going into, I believe, the 8th frame and threw a really good shot and left a blower 10-pin. John Marsala's got himself a 3-bagger going on 7 and 8 right now, going into the 8th frame. Local guy Wayne Topolin getting up on the approach on lane 7's got a double going into the 7th frame. I'm sure he would really like to make that a 3-bagger. Garrett Wolf has left a 3-pin. Wayne did make his double a 3-bagger. Walter Ray missed a single-pin conversion. Wow. Not just now. I just now saw it on the scoreboard. He's getting up for the next frame after the open frame, but you don't really ever see that, ever. Tom Vasquez has started this game at the front 5. He's about to get up on the approach to try and get number 6. Garrett Wolf converted that 3-pin. Robert Hilton is up on the approach on 7 right now with a 4-bagger trying to make it a 5. He's on 268 pace with an open in the 2nd frame. That's a good-looking shot. And the Messenger takes down the 10-pin. So that's a 5-bagger for Robert Hilton on 7 and 8. Robert Hilton is one of the better bowlers in the Southwest Florida area. How he didn't make it to the match play portion last weekend, I don't know how that happened. Tom Vasquez seems to be throwing a big foot, and he did get the 6th one. Jacqueline Witura working on a couple of spares in a row. But after that 240-something the last game, she really would have liked to have followed that up with another 240-something. AJ Wolstenholme is about to take the approach on lane 4. to try and make his one strike into a double in the 9th frame. That ball's going to be high. She leaves a 4-pin on lane 6. Michael Haggett's got himself a 4-bagger going into the 9th frame on 7 and 8. John Marsala stepping up with a 3-bagger, trying to make it a 4-bagger and put himself in basically the same position. Jacqueline just missed a single pin spare. That's unfortunate. AJ Wolstenholme left himself a 2-pin. Should be able to convert that. Quentin Alexander is struggling again. Chris Jonas had left himself a 2-8 on lane 5 and just picked it up. He really needs to find the strike train. John Marsala converted that 3 into 4. Gary Allstott's going to get up and try and do the exact same thing. All 3 of those guys on that lane all have had 3-baggers. The top 2 have made them into 4-baggers. Jacob Berry just threw something down there that hooked a lot and early, went through the face, and he's looking at a 3.6910. Walter Ray just left himself another 10-pin on lane 9. And there goes the Black Beauty. And he picked it up, patted himself on the black, because that must have been what he left and didn't convert before. Peter Knopp struggling again on 9 and 10, game 5. Scott Cobb's got a 3-bagger going into the 10th frame on 9 and 10. If he strikes out, that is going to be a 233 game. John Huff struggling mightily on this pair. He's got a strike in the 9th, but if he strikes out, it's only 179. Tom Vasquez getting up on the approach on lane 5 here in a minute with the front 6, trying to make it 7. Your tournament leader, Garrett Wolf, had the front 4 before he opened and then spared in the 6th, getting up on the approach on lane 6 for the 7th frame here in a minute. Dan Nolton still striking with Strata Hybrid. I believe that Vasquez is still throwing the GB4 Pearl. Nope. That's that's right. That we talked about that just a minute ago. That was a Bigfoot. Charles Bostic getting all the way around the RSTX1 for a 219 in game number 5 on 3 and 4. Nick Larson up, got the first one in the 10th, can get the next 2 to shoot 215. And these guys that have been done on lane 1 for, not even kidding you, 15 minutes probably, all look like they're bored and tight, except the kid sitting down there playing on his phone on 1 and 2, Joseph Ledabar. He don't care. He's like 17 years old. Oh, Vasquez's bid for a perfect game ends with an almost pocket, half pocket 7-10 where he rolled the 10 over. Garrett Wolf had left himself the 1.367 and only was able to get the 1.36. So that's another open frame, 2 and 3 frames for Garrett Wolf, your tournament leader. Meanwhile, Robert Hilton is conducting the strike train on the next pair over. He's got a 6-bagger going into the 9th frame. John Marsala has got a 4-bagger going into the 9th frame on the right lane on lane 8 and is trying to make it a 5 here in a minute. Need some coffee. Nick Larson shot 205 in the 5th game. AJ Wolstenholme has got the first 2 in the 10th frame to potentially shoot 215. Jacqueline Watura just got herself back on the strike train in the 8th frame on lanes 5 and 6. She desperately needed that. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be enough unless she goes out there and shoots 300. Tom Henke just left one of the gnarliest 9-pins I've seen in the day, and I've seen like probably 30 of them, 40 of them today. Woo! Woo! Not sure if I got the goosebumps because it's cold in here because of that 9-pin, but if he picks that up and strikes, it's 194. He's throwing a trend 2. He did pick it up. Verity Crawley just left a freaking nasty 8-pin. My goodness. 8s and 9-pins in this house tonight. Today, all day. It's just been insane. And Tom Henke shoots a 193 as he throws a messenger in front of a 10-pin in the fill ball. Michael Haggett had an 8 spare in the 9th frame on 7 and 8. He just left a 3-9-10. That's going to be a tough conversion to be able to get yourself a fill ball. John Marsala did get the 5th one in a row, so he's got a 5-bagger going in the 10th frame. Tom Bosquez getting up on the approach on 6, had the front 6, and then left a 7-pin and converted it. Chris Jonas just threw one down 5. He's got 2 strikes in this game in 9 frames, and that's a 10-pin. Tony Johnson's taking a 4-bagger into the 10th frame on 7 and 8. If he strikes out, it's going to be 226. Oh, so much for that because that's a 3-6-10. I feel like he just threw a gem out there. I don't know what business he's got throwing a gem out there in the 5th game of this, but all right. Michael Haggett still throwing that damn good verge, and he just kicked over. He converted that 3-9-10, and he just struck to shoot 225. Kicked over a 6-pin. Ball was a little bit high. Silas Lira, the gentleman just shot 300 in the 4th game. Didn't strike in the 5th game until the 8th frame. He's got a spare in the 9th frame. If he strikes out, he's going to shoot 171. So he's definitely going to fall in the standings a little bit. If he falls out of the top 5, I don't know. He was 10.08 after 4, and 5th was 9.31. He had about 90 pins almost on 5th place. So I don't know that he's going to fall out of the top 5, but he's going to need a big last game on a tough pair because they're going down to 1 and 2 after this. And at this point, I can almost guarantee you that lane 1 is probably hooking about 4 or 5 more. Yeah, these lanes are starting to catch fire a little bit. Verity Crawley's got a 7-pin that she's staring at. John Marsala just had one cross over on him. He had a 6-bagger. So if he picks that up, he shoots 236. Tony Johnson just shot 191. Michael Haggett shot 225. He was in 7th going into this game. It's going to put him at plus 129. It's not. 5th was 131 going into that game, and that was Hayden Knight. And I think he shot 2-0 something. Robert Hilton, your 4 seed going into this game, could very well jump one of these guys. He's definitely going to jump Silas Lyra. He's got a 7-bagger going into the 10th frame. Oh, yeah, baby. Gary Allstott on the approach on lane 7 right now. Can throw the last 3 for 226. That one went high and through the face, and that's a 3.610. AJ Wolstenholme right in front of me just stuck that Altered Reality in his bag and got out a Hustle PBR with a decent amount of surface on it. Looked like it was probably about 2,000 or 3,000. Oh, but he's putting that ball in a different bag, and he's grabbing a different ball out of that bag. Oh, no ball out of that bag. Oh, boy, what's going on here? He probably already grabbed whatever ball he was going to replace it with, I guess. Garrett Wolf has a double going into the 10th frame. After an open frame, he can strike out for 232. That was a very good shot by Jacqueline Ventura. She can strike out for 171. Christianis is getting up in the 10th frame right now. He can strike out for 203. That looks like a Hustle PBR. Robert Hilton got the first 2 in the 10th, so if he gets this one right here, it's 268. He's still throwing that Altered Reality. Oh, Gary Allstott opened in the 10th for a 202. Christianis makes it a double with that PBR. Tom Bosquet had the front 6, went 9 spare, 8 spare, and then I didn't even see what happened in the 9th frame, but he opened. Christianis 7 counted in the fill ball for a 200 even on 5 and 6. Verity Crawley getting up on 6 right now. She can strike out for 215. Jacob Berry just got the first one in the 10th. Gives him a 3-bagger. He can now strike out for, I believe, 225. All those guys that just got done like 30 minutes ago on 1 and 2 are just now getting to start their last game on 3 and 4. Surprisingly, the whole left lane struck. I don't know if any of them were good shots. About ready to get out of this damn shoe. But what I mean by that is the shoe that I'm wearing on my broken foot. Thing sucks. before it gets too late and everybody tunes out or this thing ends, whichever one happens first, I just wanted to thank everybody for their support. There's certain people that have come by and told me that I'm doing a great job. Honestly, this is the second time I've ever done this. And the first time was last weekend during the match play of the Proprietors Tournament here. I showed up in the beginning of game 4 of 11 of games of match play, and about the 9th game, I was looking around and it was good bowling going on, but I was a little bit bored. And I looked at Dennis and I said, I'm going to grab this microphone and commentate this deal because it's good and it needs it. I'm kind of bored. And he told me to go for it. A couple people told me through the week after that I did pretty good. And a couple people have already told me today that I was doing all right. So I appreciate it. I'm trying. I'm just kind of saying whatever comes to my mind as I'm watching bowling. Put a little bit of effort into it. I watched the qualifying yesterday for the PBA 50 thing and then took some notes and stuff like that. Garrett Wolf just threw the first one in the 10th to make it a 3-bagger and had a big old fist pump right after they all went down. Lanes 5 and 6, they're wrapping up this 4th game. Tom Boswell got the first one in the 10th and then let the 4 count, or got a 4 count, let the 6 count in the second shot in the 10th. Garrett Wolf just got the second one in the 10th and gave out an even bigger fist pump. He knows these are crucial and he needs them. So Boswell has finished that game with 229. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Garrett Wolf getting up there to try and get the last one to make this, I believe it's going to be a 222 game. A little high, he left a 6-pin. 232 it could have been. It's 231 was the actual result. I'm pretty sure that Robert Hilton got up there and got the last one in the 10th for the 268. I'm looking at the numbers right now. 31, 43. Robert still going to be about 20 some odd pins behind Garrett Wolf. Not even saying that he's going to be in second place. He may or may not be. I don't know. AJ could very easily be in between the two of those guys. Vinny Spagnola seems to have found something here late. He started this last game with the front 3. Going into the 5th game. Well, going into the 5th game, he was in 24th place, and he was dead even. But he did just shoot, what was that, a 230 or something like that in the last game, and now starts with the front 3 in this game. Is in front of the ball return, going two-handed on 11 and 12. And he's got the front 3 doing it. So if you guys want to see some weird Walter Ray shit, put it on 9 through 12. Because he's in front of the ball return on the right lane, two-handed with shit. I think that was a vintage Vapor Zone. Holy crap. Yeah, he's in front of the ball return, two-handed with a vintage Vapor Zone on 11 and 12. So if you want to see some fun Walter Ray stuff, put it on 11 and 12. You good. kind of just watching and trying to let a couple things develop here. We're about 2-3 frames into this last game of qualifying of 6 games here. On the 42-foot Mark Roth oil pattern, the 2022 version of it. I should take another second to thank someone else in particular, a special someone. I'm not going to mention her by name, but she's not even watching, but she'll know who I'm talking about if she ever does see this. Thanks to the pretty little lady. You don't have any idea how supportive you've been in so many different things, including that regional that I caught a check-in a month ago. And this little deal that we're doing here, too. I appreciate you a lot. A.J. Wolfson home. He's left himself the 1-2-4 in the first frame on 5 and 6 of this last game. I did not get the chance to see what ball it was that he changed to. He'd been throwing that altered reality for a while. Where's Robert Hilton at? Robert Hilton has started this last game with the front 2. I believe that he's still throwing that altered reality. Vinny Spagnola's got the front 4 on 3 and 4. If I'm not mistaken, he's on a dark code right now.
I've never left the split all night. Well, I left one split and I made it. So I've only had one thread of all 10.
That's pretty awesome. Oh, and you picked it up? I missed that.
Yeah, that was the only split I had tonight.
I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but Scott Cobb just came up to me and told me they're 4 frames into the last game. Walter Ray still two-handed that vintage Vapor Zone. But Scott Cobb just came up and told me I left one split tonight. It was a 4-7-10. I picked it up. Other than that, I haven't left any other splits. And that's the first time I've ever done really anything like that. AJ's slinging wood right now. I think he went back to a phase 2. He did. He went back to that shiny phase 2 that he was throwing on 11 and 12. Did you give me another copy? That's the old copy. Should only be another couple of minutes, and I'll be able to have scores for through 5. For through 5, I did not get one yet. Ricky Schisler had the front 3 on 1 and 2 before he just left. I believe that was a 10-pin that he just converted. Vinny Spagnola has the front 4 going just through the ball and has the front 5 on 3 and 4. Ryan Waddell started off this game with a couple of spares and now has a double going into the 5th frame. Walter's down there with the front 5 on 11 and 12, two-hand in that vintage vapor zone. Matthew M. started off this game with a double and then a couple of spares. He just left himself a 3-pin. Thank you, sir. All right, standings through 5 games. The tournament leader is still the same guy, Garrett Wolf. He is 243 over, averaging 248 on the day. Just shot 231 in that 5th game. Second place, Robert Hilton's back up to second place. He just shot 264 in that 5th game. He's 220 over. He's only 23 pins behind Garrett Wolf. Third place is AJ Wolstenholme. Just shot 215 in that 5th game. He's 211 over, averaging 242 on the day. Silas Lira fell down to 4th place after a 171 in the 5th game. He's 179 over. He's averaging 235 on the day. 5th place in your cut line right now is Matthew M. He shot 240 in the 5th game. He's 155 over. So your cut after 5 games is 155 over. Your bubble boy after 5 games, 6th place, Hayden Knight, shot a 204 in the 5th game. He's 135 over. Michael Haggett was your leader after the first game. He shot a 225 the last game. He's 129 over, averaging 229 on the day. 8th place is going to be Ryan Waddell, who shot 222 in the 5th game. He's 118 over on the day. Jacob Berry's checking in 9th place, shot a 223 in the 5th game, averaging 221 on the day. 10th place is going to be Gary Allstock, just shot 204 in the 6th game. He's 101 over on the day, averaging 220. 10th place, Chris Jonas, shot a 200 even game, averaging 217 on the day. Verity Crawley's in 12th, right behind him. She shot a 189 in the 5th game, averaging 217 on the day. John Marsala's pretty big 236 game in the last game. Here's page 1.
Look at the 19th.
Nice.
I'm trying to be number 1 on my pair at least.
Right? I think you are.
No, I'm not.
Who's ahead of you? Oh,
And he's got like
yeah, he's on the front 5 now.
Oh well. He's supposed to beat me. Where is he?
Over there, two-hand in that vintage vapor zone still. Up on 11 right now. Shots away. That ball hits like a freight train. That's going to be the front 6 for Walter. Verity's very far left with an X2. Just went through the pins the right way. Yo. All right. Lanes 3 and 4. Vinny Spagnola's got the front 5. He's getting up on the approach on lane 4 to try and make it 6. That looks like Black Raw, the Hammer Raw, the black one. All right, we were going through some scores a little bit. John Marsala was in 13th. He shot a 236 game to get himself there right before that. Tom Hankey was right behind him in 14th place, and he shot 193 the last game to get there. Vinny just ended his bid for a 300 game with a 610. Vinny was coming in at 16th into this game. He shot 236 the last game. Jacqueline Matura, after the 160 in the 5th game, was down in 17th place. Walter Ray found himself in 18th place, shooting 185 in game 5. Local Scott Cobb was right behind him by 8 pins. John Huff, a couple behind them, but a not-so-great 5th game. Wayne Topolin in 23rd. Dan Nolton in 24th. Nick Larson in 28th. And that's all I got for you on this one, guys. All right. Most pairs are about halfway through the last game of qualifying, if not all the way halfway through the last game. 5 and 6 is in frame 4. 7 and 8's in frame 3. 9 and 10's in 4. 11 and 12's halfway through. Walter's got the front 6, and he's getting up on lane 12 right now. Guys on 1 and 2 are 5 frames through. The guys on 3 and 4 are 6 frames through. Hayden Knight just threw a big, gnarly strike. Ryan Waddell was just attempting to pick up the 1-2. I believe that was a 1-2-8-10. Garrett Wolf is starting this game off with the front 3. He's pretty much solidifying himself into the number 1 hole. On the stream, probably, but my phone's starting to die. Oh, really? All right, it appears as though our stream has come back up. I think we had lost it for a little bit. I don't know how long it had been down, but Walter Ray had the front 6, and I don't know if anybody just saw it or not, but on 11 and 12, he is two-handing a vintage Vapor Zone, and he's in front of the ball return on the left lane, or I'm sorry, on the right lane. He had the front 6. He opened up in the 7th, and he got back on the strike train in the 8th. We are coming down the stretch. This is the 6th game of 6 games qualifying. I had recapped the top 10 just a few minutes ago, but like I said, I don't know how long the stream was down, so I'll go through it one more time really quickly. Garrett Wolf in first place, averaging 248 on the day. Robert Hilton, local guy, in second place, averaging 244 on the day. AJ Wolstenholme, Weber, collegiate athlete, in third place, averaging 242 on the day. Silas Lira in fourth place, averaging 235 on the day. Matthew M. I don't have his last name. It's not in the system. I'm not calling him Matthew M. because I don't know what his name is. Is your cut guy. He's in 15th. He's 155 over. So your cut right now after 5 games of 6 is 155 over. Your bubble boy is 135 over, Hayden Knight. So he's 20 pins out of the cut. Michael Haggett, who was your first place qualifier after the first game, is at 129 over in 7th place. So he's about, looks like, what's that, 26 pins out of the cut. AJ Wolstenholme, who was in third place going into this game, and started this game off with a spare, and now is a 4-bagger. He just threw a ball down lane number 6, and it was a big, gnarly strike, and that makes it a 5-bagger. Robert Hilton, who was your second seed going into this game, and started this game off with the front 5. Garrett Wolf, who's your first seed, has started this game off with the front 3 and a 9 spare. Got some action going on at the top of this leaderboard, boys and girls. Silas Lira shot a 300 game in the 4th game. Don't know what pair he's on right now. I can't find him. Oh, there he is on 1 and 2. He started this game off with a strike, a spare, and now he's on a 4-bagger going into the 6th frame. Hayden Knight, your bubble boy, just missed the head. He's a left-handed two-hander. Just missed the head pin left and has a 5 count standing there in front of him. It's the 1, 3, 4, 6, 7.